It is Friday. Hey, let me say this to you, man. What a week. What an absolute week and what an absolute honor. I know you guys have so many options on where you can go. We so appreciate it. But we always start the show off with Big Sills. Please, by the way, you guys have absolutely just blew the show up with the likes. You really did, man. Unbelievable stuff. It is you guys have made a difference. Thank you. It matters. You matter. Okay, so I may get on your shit, you may get on my shit. But I got to tell you, man, you guys have absolutely blown the show up once again. And I want to thank you guys very much. We're going to try to get to 265 today. Okay, let's try to get to 265 likes. We've been trending up towards 300. My goal is to eventually get to 300. Baby steps, though. But I think we now have 4 or 5 days in a row where we're over 200. And this is all because of you guys. I mean, hey, I can't hit that button 270 times. So you guys have been doing that, and I want to thank you guys. By the end of the week, those shows are now just blowing up, and we really appreciate it. We are clearly one of the most watched shows in all of Philadelphia. And wherever you are, I get people from all over the country. I got a guy the other day who delivered. Xander, I didn't tell you this. I had a guy the other day deliver my food to me. Guy goes, Sills, I watch your show every day. You're Dan Sileo? And I go, yeah. unless you're a sheriff, a county sheriff or something. I go, yeah. He goes, I watch your show all the time, man. I go, you watch your show so far away from Philadelphia? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I watch your show every day. I think it's fantastic. And I'm like, wow. So sometimes you really don't get an opportunity to understand how many people are reaching out and watching the program as it grows. I know we're centric in Philly, but we talk a lot of stuff. It's more of a guy show, really, more than it's just a football show. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we talk all kinds of bullshit. I mean, we were wrestling, and Xander hated the food talk yesterday with Farzi. He said, come on, man, let's go here. We're talking meatballs. Hey, I'm the biggest meatball on the planet, but it's kind of a guy show here. So, I mean, and by the way, I'll tell you this. Hey, Sue, I got more women that watch my show now than I ever had listened to me on my radio show. And then my radio show, it spanned almost 30 years, 31 years it spanned, my radio gig. So I got more women now. Hey, Twiz goes locker room talk. Hey, Twiz, you know what? The locker room talk sometimes gets me in trouble, or it used to back in the day. That's what we kind of hit on yesterday. But again, Sue goes, biggest meatball on the planet. I wear that badge with pride. I watch you from Charlotte, North Carolina every day. Hey, M. Escobar, that is dope, man. Thank you so much. That's crazy great. Crazy great. Thank you. You are my favorite YouTuber, Sills. Watching you from San Jose, California. Man, what a great city San Jose is, Gabe. You know how many Sharks games I went to? When Dean Lombardi was running that organization, he used to invite me down. Hey, Gabe, did you ever listen to me when I was on KMBR? I was the only guy talking Sharks hockey, or I was talking, what was it called, Gabe? SaberCats football. I was the pre and post. I forgot that. I was the pre and post game show host for the SaberCats Arena Football League team that played at the arena. Hey, Gabe. Oh my God, really? So you remember me on with Rod Brooks? And we used to do a show called Ebony and Ivory. Man, was it over the top racy. We were so far ahead of the game. Gary Radnich, who's one of the legendary guys in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, said that you were just ahead of your time, Sills. They just couldn't take you. And I was doing 14 shares on Sports Phone 68. And yeah, born and raised in PA, just moved to UT. Still watch you every day, Sills. Thank you so much, man. Hattiesburg now, Charleston, South Carolina. My cousin lives down in South Carolina. So when was that? What year? Timothy, I was on KMBR from 95 to like 98. It was my first gigantic gig because I was on KGO radio first, and then I went to KMBR. What was funny, how I got the job, I started doing sports talk on news station. And the program director goes, "What are you doing over there?" I said, "KGO is the biggest station in the city." It was. And I went over from news talk, doing sports and the updates, over to doing a sports talk show. John Madden was the guy that got me the job. Get through a lot of miles trucking on the road with you show sales. Now you all hit the damn like button. We want to get to 300 today. Hey, yeah, just real quick here. Live in Buffalo. Hey, Devin, tell me something, Devin. Help me out here a little bit. What is with the Moths in September in Buffalo? Can you tell me? Devin, I went up and played a game, and it was a preseason game in Buffalo. Guys, we were at Rich Stadium. I have never seen more moths in my life. These white moths are covering the field like it was snowing. And they're getting in your face mask. They're in your face. They're everywhere. I have never seen. It was like locusts, and they were everywhere. And we played the Bills up there. The stadium was just inundated with white moths, and they're getting in your mouth. They're in your mouthpiece. I'd never seen anything like it up there. This is like September, maybe August. Oh, May flies. Is that what they were? Man, they were all over the place, man. Crazy. God saying, don't live there. Hey, man, we got a lot of stuff to hit on here today, man. It's been an interesting ball talk this week, and it's been an interesting conversation this week. Hit the like button at 50, and the goal is 275. Moss from Silence of the Lambs, something like that. It was, man. It was crazy. All right. Hey, like I said, what a year it's going to be for Nick. And what a year it's going to be for Jalen. I'm a big fan of the show still. Been watching you since the end of December, and the Eagle fans from Waldorf, Maryland. I appreciate you, brother. Hey, Devontae, one of my greatest times in my life was being at the University of Maryland. Hey, Devontae, I'll tell you flat out, I would never have left Maryland if it wasn't for that dickhead D-line coach. I would never have left. I enjoyed playing for the Terps. I enjoyed being 4 hours from my house where my folks could come see me. I would never went to Miami. I'm glad I did, but I would never have left Maryland. Never have left. I would have stayed there the entire time. I enjoyed being in Maryland. I enjoyed being around the Philly, Ocean City, all that area there. I enjoy the Northeast. It's my favorite place on the planet. I like California, the views. I do. I love the South. I love Florida. I've grown more fond of the South, especially Florida, especially South Florida. Central Florida too, Tampa area. I mean, I really do. Okay, I do. Big Seals, happy Friday. Marcus Spears said if he stays healthy, he could be a top 10 linebacker this season. That seems crazy. I like the confidence. All good, man. It's all on Jalen this year. If we're among last in the league in usage of motion and running, 90% of the snaps out of gun, he'll likely get traded like Wentz. I don't think they're going to trade him anytime soon. Too much positivity. Now back to schedule bashing. Thank you, Twiz. Twiz has got to put me back on my rails. Is that what you're trying to do here? Ocean City, Maryland is where I am, Big Sills. Hey, dude, James, my aunt watches the show, right? So the very first time I went to Ocean City, Maryland was 1975 or 6. It was when Jaws came out. And it was my first time. And we're sitting there, we go out into the ocean, Ocean City, Maryland. Some of the greatest crab shacks on the planet, man. I love Ocean City, Maryland. And I used to go with my teammates from Maryland. after my aunt took me to Ocean City, Maryland. God, I love that place. Oh, Wildwood too. Going to Wildwood was one of my favorite places. Nickel beer night, all that stuff. See, I'm not that far away from you from all the stuff that you guys do. I used to go to Wildwood every summer with my boys. We'd go to Jones Beach and we would go to Wildwood. Best movie, great crabs. Absolutely, man. God, Ocean City have so many great crab shacks there too. Oh, man. The Chesapeake Bay, dude, all those blue shell crab places, dude, you don't get that on the West Coast. You just don't. Oh, Sea Isle, New Jersey. Oh, another great place, man. Absolutely. Joe's Crab Shack. That's good eating down in South Florida. Okay. Hey, Game Time, Brian says, I live 30 minutes from Wildwood. Hey, Game Time. I'm not kidding you. Back in the day, they used to have a thing called Nickel Beer Night. We'd go down there, man, $5 get you hammered. You know, when you don't have a lot of money when you're a kid, your boys go down there, you go to the beach, you go to Nickel Beer Night. Oh, my God. We used to have so much fun down there in Wildwood. And I would listen to who was the former football player that owned WIP? What was his name? Damn, Angelo brought him up the other day. What was the guy's name who owned WIP? And I used to listen to WIP. And what was that guy's name? And he was on CBS. And we would listen to WIP all the time. And that's when it started to get to be sports. And they were getting more into the sports world then. The Salt Shack in Tampa is fantastic. Hey, the Lobster Pot also in Tampa. Well, it's actually in Clearwater. That's another great place. Max, remember I told you this. Okay? The Lobster Pot. It's over in Clearwater. It's a hidden gem. My wife and I love that place. One of the absolutely craziest places when it comes to great seafood, man. Oh, the Lobster Pot's fantastic. Hey, from South Florida to Rhode Island, Massachusetts. There's not a seafood place I haven't eaten. They're just not. What was the guy who owned WIP's name? What was that guy's name back in the day? Damn it, I used to listen to him on the radio. I think he did mornings. And God, man, Angelo, like I said, Angelo brought him up. He used to do CBS and he was a color commentator with Pat Summerall. Man, he was really great. By the way, my uncle played with Pat Summerall when they were with the Giants. Tom Brookshire. Thank you, Slayer. Tom Brookshire. I used to listen to Tom Brookshire. That shows you, hey, I've probably listened to WIP longer than you guys have. WFAN back in the day with Mad Dog and them guys, with Francesa Mad Dog, I didn't really dig that. And I love WNBC when Stern was on with Soupy Sales, but WIP was my sports station. And it came all the way up to New York. So I listened to WIP. IP was my first sports station, not FAN. Okay? It was, man. Look at Jalen Hurts' stats in his first 4 years with different OCs every year. He's been to a Super Bowl. If our defense wasn't a sieve in the game, he would have won the MVP, and he's been to the playoffs every year. It is a good testament. Howie Roseman's the real MVP. Okay. I've been listening to WIP for 40 years. Probably me too, man. Since I was in high school, I've been listening to WIP. I still listen to it. I don't think the hosts are very good like it used to be, but get this, guys. You know what has not changed in Philly? You. Well, some of you with expectations. The fans are still the passionate fans. It's the only consummate. Dude, the hosts don't matter in Philly unless you're like Howard or Angelo, Diddy. Who else? Mac now, a little bit, not too much. I never was a fan. thought he was boring. Xander sent me a clip a couple years ago. I was going to have him on the show. I listened to it and I said, I don't think so. That's a true story. That's a true story. I went, you know what? I'm going to pass because I didn't think he was interesting. And I thought he was boring. Hey, you know what? I'll tell you this. John McMullen may have a slow delivery, but he's got content in that delivery. And there's some shit in that stuff that you go, wow. Like when John goes like this, yeah, everything's really, well, I get it, but, Barkley, I just don't see it. And you're like, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. I was kind of shocked. John will put you back on your heels a little bit. He's just a shock jock. Yeah, but hey, Dave, he's got content behind it. He does, man. He's got content behind it. I like it, man. I think I'm being too nice now, right? I think I'm being too nice. It's time to move on. I'm getting a little like weird here. Like I'm trying to connect or something. I don't know. Angelo Almorgani are my favorites. I like Steve Fredericks. Oh my God, I forgot about Steve. What a great sports talk guy. Steve Fredericks. Holy shit. I had forgotten that name. Absolutely. I love Almorgani. Keith come on here all the time too, man. Hurts had one good year. Absolutely. Absolutely. Come on, Sills. Bash someone. All right, Sue. Come on, Sills. Wait a minute here. I didn't come here for pleasantries. You see, we frighten the whole room up when we start to come out. We little salty Sills. It's not that hard, though, man. All you got to do is, hey, you know how you light my fire? And I'm not referencing Jim Morrison. Just bring up Fredo Sirianni and Roseman and Associates. And we're ready to rock, aren't we? The power of Christ compels you, Sills. Come back to normal. Oh, man. Randall Tex Cobb was on with Angelo. That funny, man. All right, let's go. Let's get it done here. I went back and I listened to both the interviews yesterday. And this is Big Sil's takeaway from Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio, part 2. I had a chance and it was kind of rushed yesterday. So I went back and listened to both Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio's comments yesterday. They haven't really changed. You keep being nice. I'm going to take back my like. Thank you, Marshall. I got it. Hang on. I still have the premise here. By the way, all super chats go to the top. Thank you very much. I haven't changed my opinion. It did exude confidence, and I felt better about both guys. I did. I felt better about both guys. But here were my more in-depth takeaways that I had from listening to those men. Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, and Vic Fangio. So I'm going to kind of combine it here. Please hit the like button here. And this is Big Sills' takeaways. Nothing's really changed. Just a little bit more in depth, okay? Here's what I really kind of when you listen to it, I got the sense that Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman don't work hard in the offseason in preparation. And that these two guys are coming in with new blood and new life on how they're going to prepare for the upcoming season. And what I mean by that is, I think these guys are going to be more ready and more prepared in September than any other time Sirianni and Howie has been prepared in the last 3 years. I think they want to practice more. I think they want to have more stuff on field instead of in the classroom. Not that the classroom is not important, but when I listen to them, I don't know about you, Xander, but those two guys made it sound like we got to work harder. We got to work harder. That was one of the takeaways. That's an overview of kind of what I was listening to with both guys. Because what Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio were talking about, you're not going to do that on a chalkboard. I think these guys are bringing in a new approach. Yet they got to be careful, because why? This is Howie's game. You got to be careful there. This is Howie's game. Don't step over the line. But I'll tell you, I think there's a new sheriff in town, and it ain't Fredo Sirianni. I think it is Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. And I think you may have some butting of heads. I do. These guys don't sound like the last 2 or 3 or 4 coordinators that have been in the building. They don't sound like it. The more I listened to it, I was like, I don't know here, man. I still think Coach Sirianni will come down with a mysterious flu illness while down in Brazil, like the Nietzsche fly, first week, and move to Howie's old closet office for the remainder of his contract. He came down with the Ziti fly, and he came down with Ebola, and now he has to be put in quarantine in the closet. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Then we know something's up, right? Intensity, Gabe. There seemed to be intensity in the hey, look, we're talking here May 10th. We got to see it. I get it. Not going nuts here. Why didn't the Eagles media ask Kellen Moore about never running an RPO system and how he will implement that into the new offense? King, I love that. I don't know why he didn't ask that. Why wouldn't you ask? King's asking a right question here. King, correct. Why wouldn't you ask a question on Jalen Hurts being at his best on something you didn't do at all last year almost? It's a great question. Seals did watch Shady and D-Jack's podcast. Chip was definitely the problem, but 1025 didn't sound innocent. I got it. I did listen to it, but it was filthy that a coach would actually have that mentality towards players. Hey, man, you may not like a player's work habit, or you may think he's lazy, but to sit there and bring up somebody's past, we all got past. And they make us stronger or they make us weaker. And I despise anybody who labels people like that. There's no reason to label Deshaun Jackson a gangster because he has friends that are in that environment. Hey, dude, not everybody's born in Moraga, California, or Beverly Hills. Get over yourself. Did you watch a part where he asked Fangio about the push for more practices? And he said, I'll let Nick answer that. I thought it was hilarious. Oh, absolutely. I thought that was, again, that's Nick's job is to go to Howie and go, we need more practices. It's not Vic's job. That's stepping over the line. Vic knows his role. He was defining, and Marshall, that was the best thing that Vic Fangio could have ever done publicly. Hey, you know what, Marshall? I got goosebumps. Marshall, I didn't realize it. Vic Fangio was helping to define a role for Nick Sirianni right there. Great job, Marshall. Vic defined his role. Hey, we need more practices, Nick. That's your job. Go ask him. It's not my place. I'm not the head coach here. We need something. You need to go to them and tell them that. Basically, you need to have some balls. Great observation, Marshall. That's a great observation. Great observation. I hadn't thought about that. Vic helped the head coach with a role. He helped him. That's not a rip. Hey, Vic's got a role here. We need something. You need to go to management and tell them we need it. You can't just assume it. Let them. I'm going to tell you this, man. Xander, everyone, how I look at this now, I think the coaches want to take a little bit more control of the direction of the team with these coordinators. Especially with Vic Fangio. Vic's a former head coach. He knows the role. I like it. Here's another one. Fangio was asked a question about being hired in 23 as the coordinator of the Eagles. My impression and takeaway was the Eagles waited too long, or he would have took the job. Because he said that's a fair assumption. They had come to him sooner and the timeline was better. You know what that's code for? You should have had the conviction that you had this year to hire him. You waited. You did that bullshit search. There was no search for a D coordinator this year. They went Vic Fangio, and that's what he wanted last year. So the Eagles are not going to do the same mistake they did a year ago. You know what Vic Fangio told you in that presser yesterday? They're dicking around by interviewing all these people instead of doing what they did this year. Now, Vic's our guy. There was no interviews. There was no interview. He's our guy. Vic Fangio is the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. There was no procrastinating on that. 23 there was. Right? Remember they went through this bullshit process? Gannon gets the job. The tampering shit. I think it was more the Eagles getting butthurt over what Gannon did than just saying it's Vic's job. Remember that they were putting out these public relations comments and shit? PR department probably hosed them over. Wouldn't be the first time. It's safe to say, and the dirty laundry needed to take a step back and let coaches do their job and let them handle players. Yeah. Thank you, Devontae. Yes. Okay. Yes. I'm ready to hear Howie's response. And Fangio tells him the Kobe Dean can't play in my defense. I think that's coming. Because did you hear what he said when he was asked about him? Well, he'll get a chance to compete. Wait, that's his boy. He drafted him. That's not how he sounded. Dude, I see why those players in Miami didn't like to be coached like that, because that guy is an old school 80s and 90s coach. And I told you my run-in with him years and years and years and years ago when I was going to go to a prep school before I went to college because I had to take a summer class. And if I didn't pass the summer class, I was going to go to a prep school. Well, you know who the D coordinator was who recruited me? It was Vic Fangio. And I was going to go to Milford Academy. Do you know who the defensive coordinator was? Vic Fangio. He came down to Stanford Catholic High School and recruited me and goes, hey, you know, we sent a bunch of people to Pitt, Penn State. You know, Chris Dolman, he came through here. Dwight Stone came through here. A bunch of guys who went to Pitt went here, and I was going to go there. If I didn't pass this, what I did, and I did, but I was all signed, sealed, and delivered, go to Milford Academy. And I had forgotten. Dave Wannstedt reminded me, hey, didn't Fangio recruit you to go to Milford Academy? I'm sitting in front of his office. I'm sitting in front of him in Milford, Connecticut, going, oh my God, that's right. He did recruit me. I went up and talked to him. This is 30-some years ago. He was coaching high school, and he was a D coordinator. Then I think he got a North Carolina linebacking job or some shit. So it was wild. I went to Maryland instead because I got my grades. But he recruited me. to play for him. Crazy how all this stuff goes full circle with you, right? So again, the Eagles were not going to procrastinate. That's the way it sounded there too, a little bit with him. Sills, do you really think the RPO is the only system that Hurts can thrive in? I hope the new GM could design productive alternatives. I think you mean the new OC. Relative. I think you leave the RPO in, but you don't do this. Take the RPO out and turn him into a passer just like that and overnight it. You should have left the RPO in and implemented more pass plays and let it matriculate into the offense to where, get this, you make a transition. I think what the Eagles did was they tried to transition Jalen Hurts into a pocket passer too soon. You didn't let a natural process develop. You know what I'm saying? You took the one thing he did great away. Hey, by the way, do you know how many people I think could run that Jalen Hurts RPO system that play in the NFL today to the effectiveness of Jalen? No one, including the guy in Baltimore. I think the guy in Baltimore, who Xander and I both love, Lamar Jackson, I don't think he's as good a passer as people think he is. I know he led the NFL in touchdown passes. I get it. I get 2 MVPs. But when you look at those passing numbers, 3,100, 3,200, I mean, we're not talking about a guy winning games from the pocket, are we? And when you can't get an effective game plan going, you know how you beat him? You just turn him into a one-dimensional player and you could beat Lamar Jackson any day. Lamar Jackson's never going to win a Super Bowl. Then again, I said Lamar Jackson wouldn't be in the league, and he's got 2 MVPs. I hope he wins a Super Bowl. I do. But I just don't see it. Because I don't think he can win a game from the pocket. I really do not think he can. Crowley, he is really good. He is a really good regular season ball player. Postseason, I think they panicked in that AFC Championship game. Can't throw the ball 40 times. Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball 40 times. Jalen's got to be around 25 to 28, effectively running the ball. That's what makes him a dynamite player. You're throwing the ball 36 times, he'll never win. They'll never win that way. Okay. Vic is making it very clear, in my opinion. And get this. You tell me, how many people really did listen to this? I know Xander did. Here's an observation. Vic Fangio, and I'm paraphrasing here, was asked the question, what makes for a good defense? What did he say? You guys remember what he said? What did he say? When asked the question, what makes a good defense? What did he say? Do you guys remember? Great players. Good players. Talent. Guys are right. Who is he aiming the failure at if this thing doesn't work? This guy Fangio might be a problem for Howie. Basically, my takeaway was, ain't going to be the scheme. Dave Wanstead said the same thing. It won't be because of the scheme. It'll be because of Jimmy's and Joe's. I felt that Vic Fangio said, hey, if we got the players, we'll be good. If we don't, we won't. Not because of me. That's Howie. He put Howie on the hot seat. This guy, you go back and listen to it. You're like, wait a minute. He just said what makes for a good defense. Great players. Good players. Well, that's Howie's room. Did he not put the emphasis on Howie? If I'm Howie Roseman and I'm listening to him talking, so far he said, you should have not went through some dumbass process in 23. You waited too long to hire me. Here's the other one here. Coordinators are saying you don't practice hard enough. At least he was. And Vic is saying, if I don't have the players, I don't care what kind of scheme I put up, we won't win. Those are just my first three takeaways. That's aimed at upstairs. Am I right when I say that? I mean, hey, you know, guys, sometimes you guys will look at me and go like this and say, okay, Sills, come on here, right? Is that not what you heard? So when they succeed, I guess the players get all the credit. Is there anything wrong with that, Steve? It's not just the chef. It's the cookware. Howie has been making moves doing his job. Steve, Fangio saying if we don't have good enough players, we're not winning. Devin goes, that's exactly what I heard. Translation, Howie gets some more dogs that hunt, i.e. pass rusher. It's kind of what I heard. Let's move on. Jalen Carter has to be a force. He has to be one of the top 3 interior defensive tackles in 2024, in my opinion, for the defense to be good enough to get you to the playoffs and do some damage in the playoffs. I agree. I saw somebody say that Carter is the key to the defense. I think he is totally the key to the defense. Interior pressure and run stopping. You don't have that, it won't matter because your secondary will suffer because it's too old at the corner position. He's got to be a force. He has to be a force. And Jordan Davis has to be also a factor. Those two guys are the key to the success of the Philadelphia Eagles in 2024. And I'll say it again to you. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter are the key to Vic Fangio's defense in 2024. If those guys don't get it done, they will fail miserably. Thirteenth and 9th pick. Let's go. I mean, are those guys the 2 highest drafted players? Let's see. Wait a minute. Lane was the 5th pick, right? Lane was the 5th pick. Devontae was outside the top 10. Landon was the 2nd rounder, right? I'm talking about the Eagle drafting. I'm not talking AJ. So if you think about it, the highest drafted players outside of Lane Johnson are on your defense. Your expectations have to be greater for those two guys. Okay? I mean, 9th and 13th. Got it. Those guys have to be a factor. He's got to show he can play long stretches. I think that's what Vic was hinting at. Got to play long stretches. This is Big Sills' takeaway part 2 from Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore's press conference yesterday. And by the way, I liked it. Vic was asked a question about players in Miami having major issues. You know what his comment was? I do what's best for the team and for the unit. I don't give a shit. He didn't say that. I added that. He goes, sometimes people don't see it that way. It's my job to get everybody in the right direction. If you're not aboard with us, you're not on board with us. We had injuries last year at some key positions. Things kind of unraveled a bit, but I'm doing things for the unit, not for two people or one person. I think he was talking about Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey. Marshall, those conferences showed me that Howie and Nick are on the hot seat. Just my take. I think Vic is telling you, boy, I tell you what, man, he's not going to listen to some dude sitting in the front office telling him what defense to run or what shit to. I'll tell you, I don't know if it's going to work. I just know this. He's not going to be told what to do. And I'm going to go this, and I'm going to say this and backtrack on something I said. Vic Fangio was the wrong guy to hire for the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. I am wrong. That guy, I don't know if it works on May 10th, but I'll tell you this. At least he's got conviction in what he's going to do. And that's all you can have. And all you want as a player is a coach with conviction. Sirianni has no fucking conviction in anything he does. He's a liar. But it comes with the gig of being a head coach. It's not just a Philly or Nick deal. That's a head coach. That guy that's a defensive coordinator is not going to pull any punches, and he's going to sit guys. I don't know if it works. But as a player, all you can do is go with a guy who's got conviction in what he's trying to accomplish. And if we lose as a unit, not as an individual. Darius Slay. There's none of this in a Vic Fangio defense. I played great, they sucked. There's none of that. None of that. By the way, I think he probably likes Howie a lot. But he's not going to let Howie Roseman tell him what to do on defense. He basically told you. Howie waited too long to hire me. I went with the Dolphins. Someone asked the question, hey, if the timeline had worked out better, would you have been the Eagle? He goes, that's a fair assumption? Yes. He basically told you. You dicked around. You interviewed. I signed with the Dolphins, and they gave me the most money of any coordinator in the league. The Eagles procrastinated. Howie procrastinated. Didn't happen this year. As soon as the season was over, they named that guy immediately. They were not going to let him get away this time. You know, remember, the only guy that they really actually kind of went in through like interview processing was the OC. More. I'm going to tell you what I heard Kellen Moore do. He must have talked to Frank Reich. Because he was asked the question about the old system and meshing his terminology in with what they currently have now. And you know what he did was smart? He left the Sirianni imprint on the offense so the coach didn't feel left out. Smart. That's maneuvering through a room. That's experience on being fired and not allowing the coach. Both Vic did that and Kellen Moore did that. Hey, Nick, your job is to get us more practice time. Kellen Moore said this, you know, we're going to implement what they did here, and we're also going to add. And that's allowing Sirianni to still have an imprint on the offense without being involved in it. It's smart. It's political. That's how you get a head coaching job. Right there is how you get a head coaching job. Players see that. Anybody that's been in a locker room sees what he did there. He didn't want to feel that Nick would be left out, that this was his and Nick was completely shut out. Because remember, he's still in a submissive role of coordinator, not head coach. Whether Nick has say or not, it's not important. Remember, the Eagles are about public perception. It's a brilliant move. Even if it's not true, the players know that. It's a way to fit in. Corey goes, when did Kellen Moore become a good OC? I don't know. I'm talking about what I heard at the press conference. And I've been reiterating that point. I don't know if it works. But I know what they said is exactly what players want to hear. Not what the media needs to hear. That's why some people in the media didn't pick up, or some fans didn't even pick up. I did. I thought, going back and listening, they were talking to the players. They weren't talking to the media. You think Vic was really, when Vic goes like this, yeah, players will have a chance to compete. Who's he talking to? He's talking to the depth chart. He's telling everybody will have a shot at linebacker. He mentioned the kid from San Francisco a lot. Do you understand what that means? Here, I'll give you just a little bit of insight. So when I've told you this before. So on the depth chart, when I have Jerome Brown, Cortez Kennedy, Russell Maryland, Bill Hawkins, all first rounders, Danny Stubbs, all first rounders, and then I'm fifth when practice starts. Here's Butch Davis. Butch goes, "Hey, Jerome, did you get that? Stubbs, Russell, you guys get that? Sileo?" Damn, I'm fourth on his mind. I hated that. Well, I had played myself into Sileo, Jerome, you guys get that? Yeah, coach, you got it. Everyone in the room hears that, and they know. The pecking order is Jerome, Sileo. That was the pecking order. I had beaten all them guys out in the subconscious of my position coach and my coordinator. Why do you think they come on here? Because I had done that. I went from fifth all the way to 1 and 2 with Jerome, neck and neck. Coaches and players, it's a game you play with the depth chart. Okay? I mean, these guys are saying the right thing here. You know what's crazy? You can listen to it too. Very simple. I'm just repeating their words. Still, Vic's conviction is focused towards making his unit better. Nick's conviction is focused towards keeping his job. Maybe Nick will learn from Vic this year. Could be. We got a topic in that conversation later on. Brian Johnson was Jalen Hurts' pick for offensive coordinator. It failed miserably. Calvin, if you actually think that, you're listening to too many false narratives out there, like M. Reyes. Nobody in their right mind picked Brian Johnson as a coordinator. That was a hire by Howie Roseman. That was not a personal hire. Because if it was a personal hire, you're trying to tell me that Jalen Hurts allowed that guy. Jalen Hurts got Brian Johnson fired. That's what you're saying. Because if Josh Allen got Ken Dorsey fired, Jalen Hurts got Brian Johnson fired. Did he not? It works for your guy too. Hurts got Brian Johnson fired, his friend. Oh, I see. Josh Allen, according to M. Reyes, got Ken Dorsey fired, but not Jalen getting Brian Johnson fired. I see. Okay. Why can't you use the same metric you use for Allen on your boy? How come? I mean, you sound like that DA in New York. Let's make it fair if you're going to prosecute someone. Huh? If you're going to prosecute Josh Allen, listen to you guys going like this. Oh, it's Josh Allen got Ken Dorsey fired, but not Hurts, Brian Johnson. I see. That's his boy, too. That's his boy. Who designed the plays? Nick Sirianni. Said it himself. This is my offense. Brian's calling the plays. That's who designed it. Did you not hear Nick Sirianni? Did you not hear Nick Sirianni? This is my offense. I designed the plays. Brian calls the plays. Look at how people in here will make an excuse for their guy and will attack someone else with the same failure. You're flip-flopping. My guy didn't get Brian Johnson fired. Brian Johnson got Brian Johnson fired. Well, Ken Dorsey got Ken Dorsey fired then, right? Okay, fair enough. Right? Ken Dorsey got Ken Dorsey fired, right? Is that right? Or does Josh Allen fall under a different metric? You know how you say, got me? Caught you. Caught you in your own bullshit. Caught you in your own bullshit. Nice job. The guy got him fired. So did your guy. Oh, no, he didn't. Well, then he didn't either. Brian Johnson wasn't 2-5, Forrest. They were 10-1. 10-2. They won 11 games with him. Everyone had a career year under Brian Johnson, but the quarterback. Jalen Hurts got Brian Johnson fired. Homie, don't play that. Homie, don't play that. Eddie Cox and Kelsey go so hard for Sirianni. So, Christopher, you really think they went hard playing for Sirianni when they were 1-6? Really? They were playing hard when they were 1-6. Right? Let's move on. Jalen Hurts didn't get Brian Johnson fired, but Allen got Ken Dorsey fired. Okay. Wow. Right. He was never Jalen's boy. He just knew his father. That is so insignificant to being a good play caller. It's no relevance. It's like somebody telling me that Nakobe Dean is some sort of like wizard and some sort of like he's some sort of like engineer. I'm like, what does that have to do with football? Nothing. Okay. There's no bearing on anything. Are you a good play caller or not? The Eagles are about to win the division this season. All we need is a good run in the end of the year. All you need is good defense. Fun fact, Jalen Hurts was better than Josh Allen in 22. Fun fact, Josh Allen's never been better at anything. Or Jalen Hurts has never been better at anything than Josh Allen. Fun fact, nobody on the planet would take him over him. Nobody. Kellen Moore talking about motion. That'll help Hurts. That'll help him. It'll help him a lot. You know why? He's not a very good reader of defenses, and he can't read blitzes. So that'll help him. Okay? He's just not very good at it. Sign Jason Kelce. This is something that he was right on too, Kellen Moore. Has to be a clear operation. M. Reyes, I told you. That Super Bowl appearance, Jake Delhomme, Matt Ryan, Colin Kaepernick. These are quarterbacks in the last 10 years that have gotten there. Or in the last 20, I think it was. Donovan McNabb. Matt Hasselbeck got to a Super Bowl. You understand that? Matt Hasselbeck and Jalen Hurts. Shows you what that metric is. Means dick. Jake Delhomme, Jalen Hurts, Colin Kaepernick, and Matt Hasselbeck have been to Super Bowls. Better win, kid. Jalen Hurts is going to have more autonomy to change the play this year. Yeah. To what? That's going to be interesting. They're going to put more of an emphasis on him. I wrote something down here. You know, I like how you guys talk about Jalen Hurts to Josh Allen's a bum. And here is a point to it. This is a spreadsheet from 3 organizations: Carolina, New England, and Tampa. And I want you to read how they categorize the quarterbacks. I wrote them down here. This is not my list. This is not my list. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to save that one because I'm going to compare it later. Let's pull up CBS's list of the top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. Number 32. This is CBS's, and I'll then do the general managers. Daniel Jones, they have as the worst quarterback in pro football. The New York Giant quarterback who makes $40 million a year is the worst quarterback according to a survey they did of GMs. Number 31, Bryce Young, Carolina Panthers. Number 30, only because he's a rookie, Bo Nix, Denver Broncos. Number 29, Gardner Minshew, Raiders. This is a survey that CBS posted on the top 32 quarterbacks. Number 28, Jalen Daniels, Washington. Number 27, they got Jacoby Brissett in here over Drake May, New England. Number 26, they got Derek Carr, New Orleans. This is not my list. Number 25, J.J. McCarthy, Minnesota. Number 24, Anthony Richardson, Indianapolis. CBS did a survey of general managers and asked them the top 32 quarterbacks. Number 23, Caleb Williams, Chicago. Number 22, Will Levis, Tennessee. Not my list. Number 21, Kyler Murray, Arizona Cardinals. Number 20, Baker Mayfield, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 19, Russell Wilson, Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 18, Geno Smith, Seattle. How could you have heard this? It came out today. Number 17, Russell Wilson. Or excuse me, Deshaun Watson, Cleveland Browns. Number 16, Matthew Stafford, Los Angeles Rams. These are the top 32 quarterbacks on a survey that CBS did. Number 15, Trevor Lawrence, Jags. Number 14, Kirk Cousins, Falcons. Number 13, Jared Goff, Lions. Number 12, Tagovailoa, Dolphins. Number 11, Aaron Rodgers, New York Jets. Now the top 10, a survey that CBS did. Jordan Love, Packers, number 10. Number 9, Justin Herbert, Chargers. Number 8, Dak Prescott, Cowboys. Number 7, Jalen Hurts, Eagles. Number 6, Lamar Jackson, Ravens. Number 5, CJ Stroud, Texans. Number 4, Joe Burrow, Bengals. Number 3, Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills, 3. Number 2, Brock Purdy. Yeah, not my list. 49ers. And number 1, Patty Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs. This is a survey that they did with general managers giving their assessment of the top 32 quarterbacks in the league. I differ on some of these, but especially Purdy being that high. Allen's always been around 2 or 3, or in that conversation, he'll always be in 2 or 3. Not my list. Nobody has a perception that Hurts is better than that kid and never will be. And just like you guys said, Jalen Hurts got Brian Johnson fired. Because I'm going to use the metric and how you said that Josh Allen got Kenny Dorsey fired. Okay? Hurts got his coordinator fired. Wasn't shitty play calling. Because if that's the case, you use the same metric on Allen. You know what the difference is? They brought a new guy in at Joe Brady, and he took off. You guys didn't do shit with it, and you've imploded. You can't have it both ways or 2 different ways with the same conversation. You sound stupid. So I got to ask, did you say Hurts has more ability to change plays this year? I did. That was some of the takeaways that I went back with 2.0. Okay? It wasn't shitty play calling. Stills on the Eagles offense last year. Oh, I see. It wasn't shitty play calling. It was shitty playing. So Allen ran the wide receiver out of town. He's now on his 4th team. Vikings, Bills, Texans. 3rd team in 5 years. Yeah, he doesn't have a track record for that either, does he? Oh, okay. This is his 3rd team in 5 years. Give me a break, guy. Oh, I see. The play calling sucked in Philly. And Jalen didn't get his coordinator fired, but everyone had a career year. And in Buffalo, he got the coordinator fired, and yet they still they won like 9-1 down the stretch to get into a point where they won the East again. 4th year in a row, by the way. And, I see. Jalen sucked because of the coordinator, but the guy up in Buffalo got the coordinator fired because he was playing poorly, but not that guy. Holy shit, you'll come up with every single freaking excuse on the planet for a guy that's not that great. Hey, and by the way, when you really take a look at some of the quarterbacks, he's being in conversation there with Dak. Okay, Dak and him? I don't know. All right, great. Okay. Oh, I got it. They got a guy in C.J. Stroud ranked ahead of Jalen. Shit, they got Jordan Love right there with him. By the end of the year, Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud will solidify that they're 10 times better than Jalen Hurts. Want to put money on that? You want to put money on that? You want to put money that Stroud and Love have better seasons? You guys want to put money on it? Those guys have actually thrown for 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns. You want to put money on it? We'll put a bet. We'll put some type of bet on that. It was a better year. So now he's got Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs down in Houston. Okay. Okay. Let's see your guy get to 3,900 yards first. Let's see that, huh? So those were my takeaways, 2.0. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to positions and position battles. Sills, who kept Hurts from changing plays last year? Jalen Hurts did. First year OC's not going to do that. No. Head coach who doesn't call plays, GM overstepping. No, it was the quarterback. Didn't you hear what Kellen Moore said? Kellen Moore said Jalen's going to have the opportunity to be able to have a clear game and have a smooth game plan. This is going to be on him to do this. Totally on him. Totally on him. Totally on him. Sills, do you think this list is better than your list? No, I do not. Here. I think Purdy's high. I actually think CJ Stroud's a little high. I think Hurts is high. I think Herbert should be a tad bit lower. I think Dak should be lower. I think Rodgers should be elevated. Golf has done more than Hurts. He's been in the league longer. Tua is a better passer than Jalen ever was and ever will be. See, when you have two 1,000-yard receivers, 4,600 yards and 30 touchdowns, it's kind of where you're supposed to be hanging around, not 3,700 yards. I think Lawrence is high. I think Stafford's too low. Mayfield 20th. Will Levis is ranked higher than Derek Carr, who had a better year. Daniel Jones is last versus guys who have never played in the league. I don't know. So I a lot of this could be general managers liking their own guys too, Smooth game plan, simplify the offense because he can't read defenses. Correct. That's exactly right. You see what Vic said too that I really loved? Vic goes, we're not going to add shit if things start going south. We're going to go back to basics. That's what a good coordinator does. I'll tell you flat out, man, there's going to be butting of heads between that coordinator, Vic, and with the front office because he doesn't see shit that way. And it was evident when you went back and listened to that 2.0. He does not and is not going to play guys who do not deserve to play. This is not going to be free pass Hall like these other guys have had to compromise themselves so that they could be in the good graces of Howie Roseman. Vic Fangio's didn't. And to what Xander said to me when we started the show yesterday, hey, I don't know if it works on May 10th. I don't know that. But I know this. That guy's got conviction. And every single player, all you can ever ask for is conviction. Dart says Dan Marino would have been unstoppable if he had a formidable rushing game. Well, Dartmouth, let me just say this to you. He never wanted it. That's what Jimmy Johnson wanted to implement. And Dan Marino never wanted to do that. If you think about it, the only personnel he ever had in there to gain 1,000 yards was a guy by the name of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from UCLA. Dan Marino didn't want to run the ball. He wanted to throw the ball 38 times. He didn't want a balanced offense. Jimmy wanted a balanced offense. That's why they were trying to trade him to Pittsburgh. Wayne Huizinga came in. He ex-nayed the trade, kept him there, and Dan Marino never won because you know why? Dan Marino could not be coached and didn't want to be coached. He didn't want to be coached winning football. He just didn't. Dan Marino's going to get you touchdowns, but he's not going to get you trophies. You know how some people in the NBA get you buckets, but they don't lead to titles? Just, it's the case. Michael Jordan, first 9 years, got you buckets. Started getting better personnel around him, lesser buckets, titles. You got to give a little bit to get a lot. Most egos can't handle that. Especially quarterbacks in today's NFL when you make the money you make. That's why the majority of those guys that make the money don't win. It's accurate. He was Phillip Rivers 2.0. Yeah. Right. Phillip Rivers, more talented of a quarterback than Eli Manning ever was. But Phillip Rivers played in the era of Brady, Roethlisberger, and Manning, Peyton. And those guys were all in the AFC. Wasn't like there was a clear path. And even Flacco to a point. I mean, Rivers was in a division and in a conference that had multiple star players who were winning Super Bowls. Almost impossible for Rivers to excel. And if you think about it, who had a better postseason run? Think about it. Who had a better postseason run? Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh or Manning in Indianapolis? Who would you take? Roethlisberger won more. He won more. Postseason record was better. He's got a better postseason record than Peyton Manning. Big Ben, it's like the Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan conversation. Who would you take in the postseason? Shaq or Duncan? Duncan's got 5 titles. Shaq's got 4 on multiple teams. Duncan's got them all on one unit. Why? He was patient, and he won with his core guys. Shaq has titles in Miami and LA. Duncan's got them all in one unit, in one place, stretched over 18 years. Who had a better postseason career? Tim Duncan. Who's the better player? Shaq, who had more impact in the postseason? Tim Duncan. The personality doesn't overshine the resume. Duncan couldn't win back-to-back. No, he just won more. Imagine that. Look at Jim West. He couldn't win back-to-back, but he won more. I mean, okay, congratulations, you won back-to-back. He still has more titles. Can't take that away from him. 3-peat. Yeah, well, 5-4 wins. You know, if you're in a pickup game, son, 5-4 beats The guy with 4. 5-4. Oh, three-peat. Oh, okay. Duncan's got more titles. He's got a three-peat, though. Duncan's got more titles. So you're telling me that if Patrick Mahomes wins 3 NFL Super Bowls in a row, he's better than Brady? You know, you guys may have got me there. Something that's never been done. Then again, three-peat has happened because Magic did it. Magic did three-peat. Nothing's ever happened like that in Super Bowl history. I'll have to pontificate on that. Who would you rather have, Brady or Mahomes? Whew. Daniel. Jim West, VT. Very nicely done. Jordan had a three-peat. 2 of them. I'll take Mahomes any day. So you'll take 3 Super Bowls over 7? You'll take 3 Super Bowls over 7. That doesn't even sound right. He wins 4, though, and there's a three-peat in there. That changes that conversation. He's got 4 Super Bowls and won 3 in a row. Brady's got 7 stretched over 20 years. Still, man, I don't know, man. That's something. Boy, I'll tell you this. You move that yardstick even closer. You move that yardstick close. If he wins 3 in a row, you move that yardstick really closer. You so do, man. It's nearly impossible choice, to be fair. Brady could read defense as well, but Mahomes is more physically gifted. Sam, right. You know what? How about we do this, Sam? I'll take the one you don't want. Yeah. Hey, Sam, whoever you don't want between Brady and Mahomes, I'm good. Right? Oh, right. Will he stop at 3? I don't know. Hey, you know what I'm going to tell you too, Jim? I think there's a chance Andy Reid may become the all-time winningest coach in pro football history. Do you know what they're saying? By the year 2029, I think it is, 2029 or 2028, if they continue to win 12 to 13 games, Andy Reid will pass Don Shula. And he'll become the winningest coach in the history of pro football. And he'll pass Belichick in the most postseason wins. And you fired him. You fired the greatest coach of all time. It's one thing to fire Belichick after the fact. It's another thing to fire Andy Reid prior to the fact. Hey, I wouldn't want that on my franchise's resume if Andy Reid passes Don Shula, that I fired him. I would not want that on my resume, that Jeffrey Lurie fired the greatest, winningest coach of all time. Okay? Seriously, if he continues to win 12 or 13 more games, they're projecting out. I think he's at 267 now. They're projecting out Andy Reid will pass Don Shula in 2029. You understand we're talking about, what is that, 5 years from now? Right? 5 years from now, Andy Reid could be the winningest coach in the history of the National Football League. It was time for him to go. Where, to a better franchise? Hey, dude, come on. He struck gold getting Mahomes. We all know it. It wasn't, nobody really wanted Mahomes. Wait, I'll back that up. John Dorsey got so much shit for drafting Patrick Mahomes. I think it was Mitchell Trubisky and Deshaun Watson that they wanted to draft. Can you imagine Chicago could have Patrick Mahomes right now? And Houston could have had Patrick Mahomes, and he played in Texas. He went to Texas Tech, and they passed on him. They passed on him. John Dorsey goes, no, this kid's something about this kid. Andy saw him too and knew it. I think what the story is that John Dorsey said Andy Reid was watching him at practice going, this guy's better than Alex Smith. And I think they won the division title with him, Alex Smith. We fired everything except cameraman Nick. Yeah. Hey, Sills, Brady Mahomes is the NFL's version of Jack and Tiger. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's right. When you're and get this too, Bob. Think of how many great players were in the era of Nicholas, with Player and even the tail end of Palmer, Sevy, Faldo, right? You're in the era of Jack. You're going to run into some problems. Same with Tiger. You know, Phil Mickelson, you want to hear something, Bob? Phil Mickelson was never the number one player in the world in golf at any time in his career. But he'll go down as one of the top 5 players in the history of the sport, especially at the Masters. He never was the number one player in the world. Well, when you got Tiger rolling around for 20 years, that's going to be a little difficult to do. You know? That's going to be a little difficult when you got one guy rolling around the number one player in the world for all the decades was Tiger Woods. Golf is not a sport. I agree. Golf is a skill set. It's like bowling or darts. It's not a sport. It's a competition. And you could define that as a sport, I suppose, but to me, it's more of a skill set. They fly in a jet or NASCAR. You think NASCAR's a sport going left all day? I don't. Hey, man, I'm going left all day in that pit job. I'll tell you. Getting my 4 tires right. I don't know, man. Sitting in a car in the highway, as if anybody has sat on 95 for 3 hours in traffic, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Driving an NASCAR ain't a sport. It's patience. Right? You've been on 95. You know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Left all day. F1 now, man. That's a little more of a skill set there. Plus, those guys are like billionaires. Dude, if I had a shot to be one person in the world, I'd want to be either a Premier League soccer player or an F1 driver. They get all the hot chicks, and they make $75 million a year. I mean, those dudes over there those F1 drivers are billionaires. I mean, there's no coincidence you drive for Ferrari and Porsche and shit like that. And, I mean, you're not driving a Hyundai or a Ford. You're driving a Ferrari. And there's 7 of them in the garage. You know what I mean? Right. Hey, you know, I got the Plymouth rolling here and came off of turn 6. She hung in there, man. But you know, you go through that death alley and that airlock down there in Daytona. That Ford really took that thing well. That old pan stood right there with me. Dude, when you're driving a Ferrari around, man, you drive a Ferrari going home and on the racetrack, you're in a sport I want to be in. Okay? I want to be in that sport. I drive my Ferrari home. I got a Rolex on my left hand, and my car that I'm dealing with on the track is a Ferrari. Hey, I don't want to drive see, the NASCAR guys go home in Ferraris. They drive Fords. That's not the sport. Subarus, though. Hey, dude, I'm not ripping a Subaru, man. None of that shit. Lamar will never win a Super Bowl. He hasn't lost to Kansas City every year in the playoffs. I know, dude. He's in the era of Mahomes, Barb. Lewis Hamilton is worth $285 million. Dude, he is. A lot of my friends down there that do the Miami Grand Prix know him very well. A lot of the Garfunkel, who runs the Miami Dolphins, knows him very well. And Lewis Hamilton, I think he's got a place in South Florida. Yeah. Lewis Hamilton, man, is a South Florida legend now. They love him down there. Yeah, Pitbull and him are like boys or something. You say Mahomes won a Super Bowl every year since he was drafted. Who says I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Racers do a lot of neck training. Okay. All right. They do a lot of neck training. All right. Let's do this. Please hit the like button. Xander, where are we right now? We're trying to get to 265 likes. Oh, by the way, Jason Cole at 4:30. Okay? And Philly Godfather at 5:30. Where are we right now on the count? We're at 126. I think we're ahead of pace here a little bit. Good. Keep it up. We're trying to get to 265 by the end of the program. Very nicely done. Let's see if we can get to maybe 200 by the top of the hour. That'd be dope. Then we would have the last two to get to 265. We're going to build this puppy up to eventually 500. But right now, we got to go baby steps here. If they banned the hip drop tackle during the Brady era, Brady would have 12 titles and Gronk would be unstoppable. Damn. Dude, you're going to see a lot of missed tackles this coming season because the hip drop tackle not being – that is a formula on how you get guys down. I don't know how you're going to get a guy on the ground. You can't hit quarterbacks in the pocket. It's going to be impossible. You're going to see a shitload. And what makes this more – you're turning the NFL referees into NBA referees, which means they have more say in the play of the game. I hate the NBA refs. Can you imagine this? So the NBA ref can have 6 fouls on Shaq or on LeBron or on Jalen Brunson. And he could dictate whether or not they win the series or not by throwing a guy out in a critical game 5 or 6. The ref makes that call. He can make a call to determine the outcome of a game on a subjective call, and that dictates the series. I don't want refereeing in the NFL to be like that, where you dictate a game that could cost home field advantage or a division title. I don't want any of that. You start, the more you put subjective calls like pass interference and the hip drop tackle into the hands of the ref, the more you're putting the game in jeopardy. And what the issue is now is you're more blatant with it. Soon it'll be flag football. I'm with you here, man. I mean, 185-pound corner tackling a 250-pound tight end. With no hip drop, good luck. Agreed with you, Tolo. Like, how do you get that guy on the ground? How in the world do you get that guy on the ground? All right. You know something we haven't done here? Still says Brock Purdy. Hey, no. Some of the people in the NFL believe that Purdy's better than Jalen. All right. We're going to take a look at training camp and the battles in training camp. And I think the focus on where there's critical positions that have to be addressed and battles. And I think there's some battle, hearing the coordinators talking, I think there is going to be some battles. Hit the like button. Keep It Here National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Val Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big sales. Appreciate you guys coming aboard. Please hit the like button. We're trying to get to 265 likes. We appreciate it. I've been watching this Brady roast. I did it again last night. I think it's hilarious. Now, if you had to pick who you like to see roasted next, I wrote down 4 guys. You ready? Tiger, LeBron, MJ, and Jeter. Do I think any one of these guys would ever do that? Jordan would be in a fist fight by the end of the roast. LeBron would walk off pouting. Tiger would never subject himself to that shit. Jeter would never subject himself to that. Now, no, you could never roast those 4 guys. Dude, can you imagine walking up there on stage starting to talk shit to Jordan? Dude, that guy, if you watch The Last Dance, he still wants to fight Isaiah Thomas 38 years after something went on like 100 billion years ago. He still wants to fight Isaiah. I mean, he still thinks the glove, hey, bring the glove on. This guy still wants to fight Steve Kerr. Can you imagine Michael Jordan at a roast like Brady went through? Sills, what's your take on Shaq and Shannon? Give me a little bit of the synopsis again. I know there's a dust up. I think because Shaq said something about the Joker winning the MVP and Shaq got hose jobbed out of a couple years. I thought Shaq got hose jobbed out of a couple MVPs myself. I did. I thought he got jobbed out of a couple. The brick would bawl his eyes out. Oh man, you mean the fraud? Okay. You could never roast LeBron James, man. That guy'd be in tears by the end of the roast. Shaq was, but he needs to get over it. Yeah, you know what, RTF? I think it's because, can I tell you my problem with Shaquille O'Neal? Devin, you know the problem with Shaq? He never lived up to what he could have been even more, like Kobe said. Kobe said it best. Shaq could have been the greatest of all time, but he didn't want it enough. He was so dominant and so great, and his greatness was so good. He just never really worked the extra 2% to be the greatest of all time. No one would ever take him over Jabbar. Jabbar would crush him. Olajuwon killed him every time he lined up against him. 35-14. And in the most critical moments, he beat him in the finals. Swept him. Shaq's butt hurt. Yeah, Christopher, Shaq's butt hurt because he goes into Vince mode because he knows everyone's right. Shaq, you could have been the greatest player in the history of the NBA, but you didn't want it. If you had the same desire that Kobe and Jordan had, you'd be considered the greatest pivot man of all time, and you would have won more, and you'd be in a conversation for the GOAT of the NBA. Was there a more dominant player in the history of the NBA? No. Was there a more physically gifted guy? Then Sean goes like this. Sean, thank you. Roast Howard Eskin. I think we do a pretty good job of it here, Sean, don't we? when I get Angelo on, I think we do a pretty good job of roasting that dude. Right? You want to talk about referee bullshit? Shaq got away with offensive fouls almost every possession. Slagger, how many times, though, the defensive people were hanging all over the guy? I mean, they invented the defensive 3-second rule. I mean, Shaq was so dominant, he just camp out underneath. You couldn't get anywhere near him. So they came up with a rule. Anytime you change the rules of the game, you have an impact in the game. Same thing like Wilt. Okay? Wilt changed the game. Shaq kind of changed the game. Joker's that dude. I think he is. Hey, 3 MVPs in a row. That's incredible. I think he's also butthurt the fact that Shaq didn't win 3 MVPs. Can you imagine Shaquille O'Neal? Can you imagine Shaquille O'Neal at tight end? What that guy would have looked like at tight end? Holy cow. All right. Oh, real quick before we get to camp battles for the Eagles. Here's my perception that's going on with some of the contracts that are going up with quarterbacks now. Brad Holmes, general manager of the Detroit Lions, wants to get a deal done with Jared Goff as fast as possible. Now, I don't know what that's going to look like. Is it going to be $55 million? 2 conference championship games with 2 different teams. Pretty impressive. Do I look at Jared Goff and go, that guy's the greatest quarterback in the league? Absolutely not. Do I think he's functional enough to get you to a Super Bowl? He has already. He's gotten to a Super Bowl. If Jalen Hurts gets $50 million, shouldn't Jared Goff? He's done nothing more. Actually, he's done more. He's took 2 different teams to NFC championship games. He's done more. Nobody's saying he's better. He's just done more. He's been in the league a little longer. Okay. But you gotta compensate the guy, don't you? You gotta compensate him. So but the point is, the Lions want to get a deal done. How come in Miami they're dragging their wheels a little bit with Tua? You think they're doing this with Tua? You know, this guy is a hit away from being a jar of Skittles. do we want to put $55-60 million in that kid's pocket if all of a sudden we see a bowl of marbles on a football field after a hit? It just seems they're dragging their wheels on this. Whereas in Detroit, they want to get a deal done as fast as possible for golf. That's just a perception. Am I wrong when I'm saying? I mean, you hear the GM going, we want to get a deal done. In Miami, you're kind of, it's coming along, Chris Greer's like, They're like, really? Are you concerned about his health? 4,600 yards last year. Pretty impressive. Okay? Pretty impressive. I mean, Sinbad, you're talking about a debilitating hit to the guy. He's, in my opinion, 2 or 3 hits away from retirement. Or 3 concussions away from retirement. Are you going to put $60 million over 3 years per year annually in that guy's pocket? What a gamble. Now, what's the alternative? Cleo Lemon, guys like that in the past. Chad Pennington. All the guys who have rolled through that building since Marino. I mean, Jay Fiedler. You got to look at the alternative. What are you looking at here? It hasn't been an A-list of quarterbacks that have gone through South Florida. I mean, that's also where you got to look at. I thought it's very interesting in the different directions and how Detroit's looking. And you know what, too? Kudos to Jared Goff. Here's a guy that I thought was going to be a stopgap quarterback in Detroit, has turned himself into a viable quarterback in the league and has gone on to have a reclamation project in Detroit to now where you're talking $50+ million a year and leading the Detroit Lions to potentially a Super Bowl one day. That's pretty awesome. Dude, I thought he was finished. And the way Sean McVay was talking, if you're looking at it, I've never seen quarterbacks get the benefit. Both guys, the trade work. Look at all the draft picks. Think about this, for instance. The Penei Sewells of the world, the Aiden Hutchinsons, the kid from Alabama. All those picks they got trading Stafford to the Rams have all benefited into the tight end. All those guys were part of the Stafford deal, and they've all hit. So they built their team through Stafford and the trade to the Rams, and the quarterback has elevated himself back up to being one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the league again. That's a grand slam for Detroit. It's a grand slam across the board. Draft picks hit, the quarterback elevates, the Rams win the Super Bowl. The Rams are on the way back. Both organizations hit grand slams on everything they wanted to accomplish. That's a deal. Nobody got the better end of it except probably the Rams because they won the Super Bowl. It's remarkable. It absolutely is remarkable. Look at what look at how many organizations. The Miami Dolphins didn't benefit from trading those picks away or the 49ers. Sean, thank you very much. That's really cool. Less hitting and shorter practices have made the Eagles soft. Elliott Shore Park supports this. We need you as an Eagle reporter. Less hitting and shorter practices have made Eagles soft. Elliott Shore Park supports this. We need you as a Eagles reporter. What in the world would a guy know like Elliott Spitzer, Shore, Polly Parks know about football? And after I read that article about that piece of shit going after Deshaun Jackson that way, I will never respect that guy in anything he says. He's a flag-waving Eagle, Howie Roseman honk. How dare you talk to Deshaun Jackson like that? I don't even know Deshaun Jackson. And I would never allow a reporter in my locker room to ever fucking put something like that out there on one of my teammates, because that makes me accountable. If you see something, say something. Players in that locker room should be appalled by that guy rolling around in that locker room. Should be appalled. I have no respect for that. I have zero respect for that. A gangster? Dude, I don't know why the Eagles allow that man in the locker room. He should be barred. Elliott belongs in a chess club, not sports. You labeled a black player a gangster. Dude, I have no respect for this. It's disgusting. It's racist. Listen, I said something in the day that was off the cuff, and it was poor language. This guy wrote a column. He thought it out. He processed it. He investigated it. It's a racist column. And then the editor had to say, okay. So the Philadelphia Inquirer editor okayed it, that a reporter would allow that language on an Eagle. Get this. It's not an opinion. Read the column. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been published. I mean, Xander just sent that thing to me. Dude, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go off like that. But if I saw that guy rolling in my locker room, oh, okay, excuse me. I'll take that back. It's not the Inquirer. It's NJ.com. NJ.com. So I want to go back on that. It's not the Inquirer. It's NJ.com. So we want to make the source right. We don't want to castrate the Inquirer for that. So we want to make sure it's NJ.com. He wrote that column for. Yeah, Inquirer come after Big Sills again, because them and the Eagles do that. Okay. Yeah, but does that guy, Elliott Spitzer Shore Parks, now work for the Inquirer? Does he work for the Inquirer now? I don't know. Does Elliott Spitzer Shore write for the Inquirer now? Does he? He is WIP. Okay, the Inquirer didn't hire him. Thank God. IP hired him. So IP has a problem, and Odyssey has a problem with me, but you put that on your radio? Hang on. Odyssey says shit about me when I'm in Boston. And Jeff Solano, director of programming, has a problem with me. But you got a guy on WIP that wrote that column? Hey, Jeff, you'll be getting a strongly worded email and text from me later after the program. Don't ever spread shit again about me again, Jeff. You have no integrity. I was supposed to do the Jim Rome show a couple of years ago. That guy stopped me from doing it because he said I said some things in the past. You got a guy on WIP that called a guy a black gangster. Oh, a column for NJ.com. Boy, pretty hypocritical in your media in Philly. You go after little old JAKIB and everyone else is in bankruptcy in that place. Try to keep people in their place and in their lanes, don't you? Fuck that. Dude, you put the wrong guy on in Philly. Me. Because I'll call your asses out. I have emails that Craig Kitchen had me all lined up to do 2 weeks of the Jim Rome show, but CBS stopped at Odyssey. And the guy in Philly was the guy who did it. Tell him I said it. And I'll post the emails. I saved them. Question, Mr. Sills, how the hell are my Ravens going to practice full contact with Henry in the backfield? He'll injure our entire secondary, and especially with John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh likes to go hard in practice. Ain't what them cream puff practices are for Elliott Spitzer Shore Parks, and I believe in the soft practices. That's because you're soft. Derrick Henry's watching. He had a better year than Barkley did on a shitty team, too. Henry's washed. Okay. Let's make a bet. Derrick Henry has more rushing yards than Saquon Barkley does this year. You want to put numbers on it? I can't remember the last time Saquon Barkley outrushed him. Has he ever? What is he, 3 years older? That's okay. Jim Rome show. I know, man. Clones and shit. Little bit old. We're good. We're good. Deshaun Jackson is literally doing the crip walk to Kendrick's Not Like Us recently. Oh, shit. What did I miss? I let the dogs out and Dan's getting medieval. Hey, wait a minute. Steve. Big Sil's gonna go medieval. This mother, you know what? I'm gonna get a blowtorch and blowtorch this. That's one of my favorite scenes, dude. We're gonna get medieval on this guy. Because I'm gonna get a blowtorch. I'm about to get medieval on this, dude. Great line from that movie, man. One of my favorite Quentin Tarantino movies. I love Quentin Tarantino. Sills, Mitchell and Slay and DeJean as you're starting. We're going to get there. Pair of pillars and a blowtorch. I love that scene, dude. Hey, guys, please hit the like button. Trying to get to 265 by the end of the program. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Oh, shit. What did I miss? Bet he won't. Okay. Yeah. That's what I'll do. Bet against Derrick Henry. Jackie Brown's my favorite. That's good, too, man. Holy cow. Good. Good. Hey, you guys see here, man. We don't talk about Jackie Robinson like Jody. I'm kidding. Kidding. Jody's good people. He's good people, man. Big Sills. Gonna go CWA on that dude. Off the top rope. Elliot hides behind the Twitter. He's a coward. Dude, calling a guy a crip or implying he's a crip. I mean, I would never allow that guy in my locker room. Shame on the Eagles for doing that. He must be he must walk around with the Howie knee pads to keep that thing going. You call out a player, a revered player like Deshaun Jackson like that in an article that people know and read. And the players in the locker room, today's Eagles are okay with that. They know Deshaun Jackson. So does Jason Kelce. You're okay with that? Man, but I have a problem with that. Man. ESP wears Jeffrey Lurie knee pads too. Man. This guy's you tell him I said that too. You walk around in a locker room like you're an authority figure, and you said that about one of the revered, retired, if I'm not mistaken, isn't D-Jax in the Eagle Hall of Fame now? Didn't they retire that last year? Didn't he get in? Eagle Hall of Famer, you called him a Crip. Don't ever call me a racist when you got a reporter that did that to one of your players, and he still works in that market. Shame on you. Shame on you. Hey, Bob, where are you? Send me a text, Bob. I know you watch the show. No, first go through Xander, then send it to me. Or go through Joe, Xander, then get it to me. And I'll tell you what I think of you after knowing what I know now. Don't you ever call my bosses again like that. I didn't know this story like that. Don't you ever call me again or my bosses like that. Same day the article came out, the Eagles released Deshaun Jackson. And you know what? They knew that they had made such a mistake that they have welcomed him back with open arms, and they blast Chip Kelly because they knew it was a mistake. Then the Eagles cut him. I got to get him on. Okay? I got to get him on. Hey, LJ, it's not important if you believe or not, because I truly don't care if you do. I truly don't care. Okay? Whether you believe it or not, it's not important. Xander's the owner of this company with his father. Next week, we're going to get him on. Ask him. And that's a kid who was get this. When I first met Xander last year, I thought the kid was 32. I couldn't believe how young he was. I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. Kid's going to be a great executive. If you can get through the landmines. All right. I want to get to battles. We're going to do this now here. Battles in camp. Dan, I met you almost 4 years ago. You oh, okay. Sorry. CTE's high. The CTE meter's high right now. Sorry, Xander. Oh, wait a minute, too. He still got a ticket. He still got a ticket on his clipboard, too. Hey, kid, remember this one here? You know? Hey, shit. You want to hear? Hey, one quick one. Hey, you know what, dude? Man gives me his word. Have I ever broken my word to you? Well, right. That was the end of that. That's our conversations. He's never broken his word to me. Ever. 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 Right? Can we get D-Jax on the show? I got a number for him. If not, Michael Irvin will get him for me. Because we get the biggest names in sports on the program. How you doing? D-Jax was a nice player. Did too many boneheaded plays, but a lot of fun to watch. Christopher, I'll say this to you. Tyreek Hill's probably the greatest deep threat in the history of the National Football League, but this kid's in the top 3. Okay? He's in the top 3. You know how hey, Nick, you know how I can get shady on? You know how I can get shady on? I'll ask Joy to talk to him. That's how I'll get shady on. Okay? Get shady on. So we'll go through Joy. By the way, we got to get Joy on again, don't we? All right. Countdown to competition. You know, I told you my takeaways from the Coaches 2.0 when I listened to the interviews. Joy was on this show, RTF. Joy Taylor worked for me. She was my producer for 2 years when I was in Miami. I started her. RTF, you didn't know that? I started Joy Taylor on the air. It was my call. Joe Bell, who runs your 97.5, didn't want to do it. I said, she's talented. It's my show. I'm doing it. Unlike your puppet coach, I had complete autonomy on the content and who was on the program. It was in my contract. And they had her dicking around there just because she was good looking and Jason Taylor's sister. This is true story, Xander. And they had her doing gopher jobs for Sid Rosenberg and all these other guys. So they put her on my show. And she's parading around in a dress. My wife was one of the greatest producers of all time. Joy comes up to my wife. This is a true story. She goes, what do I have to do to open Dan's eyes? And by the way, Joy's beautiful. But on my program, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. I want hard workers. And so she goes, get him a guest. So she got me Dan Marino. It opened my eyes. Started booking some more people. Call her in my room and I go, you're doing my updates from now on. You know that shit that you used to do with Colin Cowherd and Colin Cowherd has on a show now? Right? Joy's been on the show twice. Okay. She's been on the show twice. She worked for me. I called her in and I said, Google it. She'll even tell you what I said to her. So I told her, you're doing my updates, top and bottom of the hour. Don't make it long-winded. And don't use stupid words that are too smart for people. You got to talk to dummies like LJ. So make sure you use not over-the-top words. People don't have to think about it. You want them to react to it, not think about it. And so she's like, oh. She couldn't understand how I was being so direct to her. And so she started doing it. She started doing some weekend shows. She comes to me and she goes, how do you think I'm doing? I go, you're talking too much. Get to the point. Guy sucks. Why do you have to go around the corner to tell me that someone sucks? He sucks. Well, this is why the guy's not performing well, because the guy is here and he does. Dude, stop with that. The guy sucks because he doesn't understand the playbook. Make it simple. And she put some big quotes. Greatest advice I ever got was from Dan Sileo. If you're going to be on the air, say something. Just don't talk. You could tell an inexperienced guy, and I'm not going to use any names. Guy just talks. Say something. Say something. Just don't talk to me about stats and bullshit. Say something. And that set her up. And every single January 3rd, she sends me a text first thing in the morning. Happy birthday and thank you. I said, no, thank you. You deserve everything you get. I'm proud of you. Guy runs a network too. Craig Larson was a producer for me. There's numerous people around the country that are on the air now or running companies. Andy King runs Sirius, was a producer of mine. I help people that want to be helped. Joy was one of them. So RTF, Sil's life gets more interesting every time I listen to him. Well, when you're on the air 34 years, if somebody comes to you and wants help, Joy wanted help, so I gave it to her. And I gave her start. Everyone looked at her as tits and ass. I looked at her as a talented person. She was talented, and she is talented. Fantastic. Good for her. She'll speak for yourself now on Fox. All right. Let's get to the battles in camp. And you tell me if you believe where we're going here and that there's opportunities here. Let's start here. Quarterback 2. You think it's a foregone conclusion that Kenny Pickett is QB2 over Tanner McKee? Do you? Do you think that that's a foregone conclusion? I do. I think it's a foregone conclusion. Tanner McKee probably will be cut or sent to the practice squad. Pickett's a nice number 2, starter, former number 1, didn't have a lot of offense in the building, so I'm okay with him there. Plus, he never had this talent in Pittsburgh. How do you know how good he could be if he had that talent? I mean, I'd like to see him with better talent around him. I'd like to see Justin Fields with better talent around him. Wouldn't you? He's got to be better. Or just turn around and hand the ball off to Barkley. Can't be that hard, right, Jalen? I mean, right? Tight end number 2. CJ Kuzma versus Cal Katera. CJ gets the job as number 2 tight end. He's been a starter before, right? Probably wins that job. I'm not sure I don't think that's bad. I get this. I don't think that's a bad depth piece there. I don't think that's a bad depth piece. Yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more. Cal started something special this year. He's with a better offensive line now. Yeah, and better offensive personnel, too. You're talking Pickett, I'm assuming. So I'm going to think CJ's going to win that tight end number 2 spot. Wide receiver 3. Devontae Parker, Britton Covey, Aeneas Smith, and Paris Campbell. Who wins that number 3 spot? You know, for me, I'd rather put Smith in there at the wide receiver 3 instead of Devontae Parker and have Parker as my number 2. I'd rather put the rookie in there and try to develop him and give him the reps and give him first opportunity. I already know what Parker is. I don't, Parker, to just start him because he's a veteran, at that position that only had 33 catches last year, I'm not real interested in that. So to me, I'd rather have Smith in that position as the number 3 wide receiver. So that battle, do I think it'll be a hot and contested battle? No. I think they're going to want to wait and see if the kid can play. Check out the clog he did getting drafted. Nicely done. I will. I agree with Smith. He'll be fine as number 3 wide receiver. Smith is small. Yeah, but again, 3-hole, right? Right guard. Steen, Hennessy, Keegan or Micaiah Becton. If I was going to put a depth chart there, I would put Becton, Keegan, Hennessy, Steen. And in my opinion, Steen is floating on what round was he taken? Was he a third rounder? He's not a starter. He's going to be a contributor, probably special team stuff. Third rounder. You're working with Jeff Stoutland, and you're on a great unit. That has to play into it too. Okay? Corey goes, what's wrong with Steen? What I'm trying to get to Corey is maybe nothing. He's just on a really good unit. Okay? I mean, he's just on a really good unit. So nothing. Steen needs to start. He's a third rounder. Okay? So again, I'd like to see Becton get in there and get that job. Then Keegan learning and being in the two-hole to take over. And you can also use Becton as your swing tackle. So it is a night. Slagger. It's a great take. It's a great take. Absolutely a great take. It's a great problem to have. Now here we go. Slot cornerback. Avonte Maddox, Cooper DeJean, CJ. Is there a battle there? What if Cooper DeJean really looks great in the preseason? What do? Do you start him? Is Maddox the odd guy out there? You'd have Gardner Johnson and him? Maddox or DeJean? Maddox until he's hurt, and then mix up CJ and DeJean. So we do agree there could be a battle there in camp. Right? Could be a battle there in camp. I'd like to see Cooper DeJean win that job. I'll be pulling for him to win that job. I'd be pulling for him. Now, corner. Keely Ringo, Isaiah Rodgers, Cooper DeJean, James Bradbury, Eli Ricks, and Quinion Mitchell. You think there's a battle with the way Vic talked at that press conference yesterday? The way he talked that he's going to play the best guys available. Competition. He didn't talk like he was going to be handing out assignments like Howie has the last 2 years, 3 years. That's not what Vic Fangio's that's not what my takeaway was re-listening to that interview with him this morning. That's not my takeaway. He's going to play the best guys that give his unit the best chance to win. So you got a battle here. Hey, and by the way, Darius Slay, got to put that in there. So you got Quinion Mitchell, Slay, Bradbury, Keely Ringo, Isaiah Rodgers, Bradbury, Cooper DeJean and Eli Ricks. Pretty deep. It's pretty deep. I don't think Slay or Bradbury have a lockdown on any of these positions. I don't think Darius Slay has a lock on that position. When you have a new coordinator coming in, you don't have a lock on that. Now, he's got the skill set that Vic wants, control and contain, so it probably fits right into what he's looking for. By the way, too, when you play a zone defense the way that Vic wants you to play, Quinion Mitchell may get the starting assignment because as long as he doesn't get beat deep and he uses that speed, this is going to come down to experience. This is why I hope they play him a lot in the exhibition instead of that bullshit Elliott Spitzer, Park Shore talking about not practicing hard. Imagine that. Get this. So Elliott Spitzer Shore came out and said something on WIP or on the Twitter page that said he's a proponent of them not practicing hard. And Vic Fangio came out yesterday and said, we need to practice harder in so many words. Where does that come from? That comes from that ESP guy talking to Howie. And it got translated to him because he ain't saying shit to jeopardize his gig. Not after a guy who said all that shit about Djax. He's going to do exactly what he's told. That guy right there has no credibility whatsoever. Because if you talk like that about a football player that was a Philadelphia Eagle and in that locker room, the only thing that guy does is he repeats what he's told. He will never jeopardize his job. Okay? Because you don't keep a job after saying shit like that. I wouldn't. Crazy people already trying to hand Mitchell CB1 before any games played. No, Corey, I'm saying that there's going to be competition. This is a conversation, Corey, about competition. Winning jobs comes in camp and when you get to the exhibition season. That's when you win your job and you apply what you've been installed with this offseason. Do you know there's 80 days until the start of training camp? You got 80 days to the start of training camp. Okay? 80 days. 80 days. Mitchell is CB2. Sadberry's gone because too many bodies. Maddox may not make the 53. He may not. I do too, Sills. Our new DB coach loves working with Q. It's great. That's exactly what you want to hear. All right. Xander, do me a favor. Where are we in the like button? We're going to get our friend Jason Cole on here next hour. Philly Godfather. Where are we? 170. Come on, guys. Got to get to 200. Then we're trying to get to 265 by the end of the program. Okay? Please hit the like button. Keep it here. National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Greg Sills, appreciate you guys hanging in there. Please hit the like button. We're trying to get to 265 likes today. You guys are on a roll, man, the last couple weeks here, man. And Sean, thank you very much again for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Sills, Kendall Milton ran hard at Georgia. Do you like the addition? I do. I like anybody off that program. Okay? I mean, you have to give him an opportunity. And I know you're going to go, the Georgia guys really haven't panned. Well, again, you can't fault your personnel people for signing guys that you didn't draft. If I'm going to sign somebody, I'm going to sign somebody, and especially if they're a UDFA, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign them from the top programs. I'm not going to sign them from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. So, yeah, yes, Annie was good there. So, Sean, you're on the reservation with that. You gave up no draft equity, and you signed a player that was one of the better players that was in the country. So, I mean, sometimes players don't get drafted because of crazy nuances. Remember LeGarrette Blount? He didn't get drafted. Remember why? He punched that kid in the face at Oregon. Oh, no, Boise State. He was at Oregon. Remember? LeGarrette Blount punched a kid at Boise State in the face and got thrown off the team for the rest of the season and didn't get drafted. John Gruden and the Buccaneers, I remember talking to Bruce Allen. Tony Dungy was like, this kid's great. I think Dungy's kid went to Oregon at the time. And everybody was like, hey, man, it's football. You get punched in the face, so what? He goes, well, you may have character issues. Character issues for a fight? It's football. Don't take the gladiator out of the player. Okay? And we all pushed for LeGarrette Blount to be signed by the Bucs. We all went, we were like, this guy needs to be signed by the Bucs. You know what he did? Look, you guys, look it up. I think LeGarrette Blount in like 9 games with the Bucs when they put him on the team, I think he gained 1,000 yards his first year with Tampa. And we were all like, this guy's incredible. And nobody drafted him because he had a problem because he punched the kid in the face. I'm not drafting a guy because of that. That's not going to stop me from drafting you. That's not going to stop me from drafting you high. If I think you're good and you punched a kid in the face, I'm going to go, well, it's called football. Emotions run high. Kid lost his shit. I have. I'm not holding that against him. Look at how the organizations hold shit like that against people. Not me. I'm not holding people smoking weed against them. Now, if you're smoking weed like Randy Gregory, hey, Randy, don't smoke pot. You got the combines next week, and he smokes weed. That I'm going to have a decision-making issue on. And I'm going to go like this. You know, kid, you're not really smart, are you? And that's a problem that I may have when it comes to picking up the playbook. If you can't hear me and you know there's a combine the next day and you're smoking weed, don't smoke pot because you could smoke after the combines. Oh, okay. You smoke it anyway. That's a dummy. So, Sills, you're not going to sign him because he smoked? No, I'm going to sign him because he got poor decision-making. That's why. Not because he smoked pot. Pot. Really? That's far down my list of concerns. Hey, he smokes weed. Whatever. Hey, he's late to practice. I got more of a problem with that. So a guy comes to me and goes, hey, Sills, he's late to practice and he's not very coachable. I'm not drafting that. Hey, guy's a really great player, like Honey Badger, but he failed the drug test down at LSU 7 times. I don't care. Did he miss any games? No. Well, then shit. I don't care. I don't care. You're in public and you're intoxicated and you're beating people up. That's a problem. Because that's a perception on my program then. And on my football team. And you could kill somebody in DUI. You know, I told you guys I have a rule. I never get in a car with anything of alcohol in my system. I will never be in that environment. It is a taboo for me to be driving behind the wheel intoxicated or have even a beer in me. No way. No way. Because if I kill someone, I could never live with myself. Not having that. I'm a danger to a community. People who do that are dangers to their community. You're a danger to my daughter. Not doing that. Smart man, lost my brother to DUI. Not catching me doing that. It's always been like when I go get my wife sometimes at the airport or my kid, you know, I like to have a couple, you know, especially on a Friday, you know, but I would never drink before I pick my kid up or something like that. Just not doing it. It's not happening. Jason Cole's going to join us in a couple minutes. Get his thoughts here in a minute and see where we are here. Sills is counting down the minutes for the margaritas. It's been a long week, dude. Told you with my police escort. Hold on here. With my where's my other one with my other cop? I had 2 cops give me a police escort because they love Big Sills. Here's one of them. Where's the other one? Oh, here it is. Big Sills with a police escort. And the 2 favorite new people that I carry now in my wallet if I go to Arizona now. Big Sills police escorts. These guys were great too. Been a long week, man. Oh, one's a lieutenant. One of them. Oh, one's a lieutenant. Look at that. How you doing? Ah. Always good to have the cops on your side. Trust me. Yeah. All right. We'll get Jason up here in a second here. Knowing Jason, he's probably at the Piggly Wiggly. So we'll get him up here soon here. Hopefully we can get him. And then we got Philly Godfather at 5:30 Eastern. Sean Payton, in my opinion, is going to get exposed this year. Why? And I'm going to lead this into Nick Sirianni here. He hasn't proven to me that he can win games without Sean Payton or without Drew Brees. He hasn't. He hasn't shown me he could develop quarterbacks. Taysom Hill. Big Seals, do you believe everything that was said about Chip Kelly? I believe when you have emotional guys like Deshaun Jackson and Shady McCoy, they're also going to have personal vendettas on not being on that 17 team. And for the people that what was the name of that kid's name that Shady got traded for? That's got to rub him and his ass the wrong way. What was the name of the guy that came back in the deal that Chip got? I mean, that has to be a bit of an ass too. Kiko Alonso. Hey, Kiko Alonso for Shady McCoy, a 10,000-yard rusher in pro football. Kiko Alonso. Hey, man. I mean, right? If you're Shady, man, you're pissed. So do I believe everything? I think there's emotion that's involved in that. Because anytime you're cut, you're going to be defensive when you make those comments. So do I believe it? I think 95% of it is probably true about what D-Jack said. It's really funny being, I got to hand it to Jason Cole. There's a lot of people in our industry right now that don't cover sports the right way. And Jason has done it so long. One of the reasons why I get him on here all the time is because I respect him a lot. I really do. And I so appreciate him. And let's see if we can bring up our friend right now, Jason Cole, and get us on it. Hey, Jace, how you doing, brother?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank
Can
you
you hear
so
me?
much. I can hear you. Yeah, well, you're a little shady on the connection, but I can hear you.
Okay. I'm trying.
Xander, is it on my end or is it on his end? Let's see if we can reconnect this. Is that me, Xander, or is that him? It's on his end. Okay. Yesterday we had an issue. It was on my end with Mark Farzetta here. So we're going to try to reconnect here. Well, he's in Florida. He's down in hey, Yale. I think he's like in Central Florida there somewhere. So, yeah, we'll get his opinion here in a second. Real quick before I get Jason on. I'm jealous. It's miserable out in Philly right now. So I hear. Let me ask you something. Let me write that down. Save it. And it's on Sirianni. Get a chance again. Okay. Let's do that again here. Let's see if we can bring Jason Cole up again. Hopefully we can. We're getting a little issue here. Jace, how you doing, brother? No. Hey, Jace. Jason, you there? Yeah, no, it's not working. Hopefully we can get this. Well, then let's go here with it. Let's go back to the topic. You think Nick Sirianni deserves a second chance? I can't believe I just said it. Do you think he deserves an opportunity to save his job? Joe says no. That is this 2024 season. That's why he's been brought back. The Eagles feel that way, senor? Fuck yeah, misses the playoffs this year, gone. So you go to the playoffs 3 of the 4 years, you fire him? Again, I don't want to sit here and come off like I'm defending it. I'm asking a question. I think if you're going to be somewhat fair to this, you ask this question, and we haven't, right, Xander? I haven't asked this. And it makes my stomach turn. It's not something I want. I don't even want to go down this route. But does he deserve an opportunity to save his job? No, I don't like Nick. He's here to take the blame for how he's meddling. He's a proxy and a buffer. You only get fired in Philly if you have a 4-win season. Then why were they going to fire him? That's not true. Get this. LJ still thinks that so LJ is a believer, and I'll ask LJ one question here. So LJ, if you're going to have a guy run a football team, would it be Doug Peterson? Watch this. Hey LJ, if you had a guy run a football team, would you have Sirianni or Nick Sirianni or Doug? Who would be your coach? This is all you're going to need to know about LJ moving forward, forever and ever. Who would you want to run your team? Doug or Nick? LJ, simple. Who would you want to run your team? Who would you want as your head coach? Nick or Doug? Talking right to you, LJ. Who would you want? Who would you want as your head coach? Doug or Nick? Simple question. It's a 2-word answer. Doug, Nick. Pick one. Pick one, LJ. This is all you're going to need to know about the guy. Or will he answer? Both is not one of the options. Doug or Nick? Who do you pick to run your team? There's no dual head coaches. No. Doug's a bit. No. Who would you pick, LJ? Doug or Nick? Pick one. Simple. It's a simple question. Don't complicate it. Doug or Nick? Who would you want running your show, your team? Doug or Nick? 2-word answer, guy. Pick one of them. It's simple. See sometimes how you can't get anybody that Nick hasn't had. Okay, that's all you need to know right there. Right there. LJ would rather have Nick Sirianni as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles over Doug Peterson. Okay. Nick's never had a losing season. Vermeil has. So, in other words, he'd rather have Nick over Dick Vermeil and Doug Peterson. He'd rather have Nick over Bill Belichick. Nick doesn't lose. Okay. One-loss records in the NFL really don't matter. postseason wins do? I mean, he told you just now he thinks Nick Sirianni's a better coach than Doug. And he'd want him running his team because he doesn't lose. So when he comes in here all the time, know where he's coming from and where he's coming from and what place he's coming from. He defends management. Guy who delivered the greatest moment, and it was all coaching that won that Super Bowl. He wanted fired. So I'm assuming, what was Andy Reid's record his final season in Philly? Does anybody remember? What was the final record? Can you imagine Doug with this talent on the offense? Would be insane. No? Because LJ says Nick's got it covered. So Carmine, was it really a 4-win? So in other words, LJ would take Nick Sirianni with his take of 4 wins, 4-win team. They were 4-12. So according to LJ, because Doug, his last year he had 4 wins, Andy Reid. And Doug had 4 wins. He thinks Sirianni's better than Andy Reid and Doug Peterson. Doug lost the team, won 4 games, got fired. So did Andy, in your opinion. Won 4 games, lost the team. So Sirianni's better than Reid and Peterson in your eyes because they only won 4 games. Is that correct? Huh. Andy Reid was 4 wins too. So according to LJ, he deserved to get fired. And he would take Nick over Andy. Oh. Again, it's okay, LJ. It's your opinion. You would take Nick over Andy Reid and Doug Peterson. I'm really not going to argue any longer with you, dog. I don't really have to anymore. You said it all. I think we need to focus on the coordinators and players. Thank you, Yale. If Doug right now coaching the Eagles, we're going to the Super Bowl. If Doug was the head coach of the 22 team, you'd have won the Super Bowl. Okay? You'd have won the Super Bowl. You'd have won it. Yeah, I know, dude. Nonsense. I'm bullshit. I'm this and I'm that. But I never heard more bullshit and more nonsense in my life than what I just heard you say, that you would keep Nick Sirianni over Andy Reid and Doug Peterson. There's not any more asinine of a thing you've ever said, dog, or anything I've ever said than that right there. You solidified being the biggest ass bag I've ever seen talking about Philadelphia sports than what I just heard you just say. Hey, you would keep Nick Sirianni, who's been to 3 playoffs, and he had to fight for his job to keep it, and they stripped him down like he was honestly, they stripped every single bit of power down from that guy possible just to keep him in the building so they didn't look like a dick for firing Doug Peterson. And you would keep Sirianni over Andy Reid, who's going to be, by 2019, the winningest coach in pro football history when he passes Don Shula. And Doug, who has had winning seasons in Jacksonville. It's not like Sirianni's doing anything spectacular. Every coach that Jeffrey Lurie has had since 2000 has had a winning record that's been in the building. Nick has won 30 games. You won 10. I have nothing to do with this conversation. Nice try, kid. Try keeping it in the room and on the reservation. That has nothing to do with the conversation. Zero. Nothing. Nothing. Time to move on. Oh, boy. Some of you guys, I see now, you just come here just to kind of, I don't know, defend the organization. It's kind of ridiculous. Let's see. Let's see how Vic and Moore do. We're going to reset at the top of the hour. We'll reset, again, some of the things that we took away. And don't forget, Philly Godfather is going to join us too. Vic won't tolerate interference. That was my takeaway. That was clearly my takeaway. Was how I read that whole scenario there too. Really was. I don't think he's going to two. Moore will deal with it. 30 wins means shit. I got a ring. Steve, that's all that really matters. Championships. And actually, what Andy Reid has done now is he validated himself by winning with Mahomes in Kansas City. Mahomes is not the number one overall selection. That wasn't a foregone conclusion that he would be that guy. Somebody had to coach that time. You're a jackass. No, it's okay, Cosmo. He's the same guy that says this, that Jalen Hurts didn't get Brian Johnson fired, but Josh Allen got Ken Dorsey fired. Like, they're two different scenarios. Hey, I'm here. My guy, my wife, right next to me. Awesome, Swaggy. Thank you. Awesome. Howie learns from his mistakes. No, he doesn't. Take a look who he's drafting with. Swaggy says, hey, I'm here. My guy, my wife, right next to me. Swaggy, good for you. You tell your wife this. I can't go anywhere without my wife, and I don't want to because I'm not sure I could make it. I'm like my pets now. I'm self-reliant. Okay? I mean, I'm self-reliant now. But Buffalo should have let Dable take over for McDermott. Amen, JM. Same thing that Steichen should have took over for Sirianni. Do you notice this? Right? Should have took over for Sirianni, don't you think? Hey, let me ask you this. Let's do this. Let's bring LJ back into it one more time. Hey, BJ / LJ, would you rather have Shane Steichen or Nick Sirianni as your head coach? Who would you rather have? Watch this one. Still's obsessed with me? Not really, guy. I think you're great when it comes to dumb content. Obsessed? How about 75,000 messages in my chat box this year you'll put up? Talk to me about obsession. Take a look at my chats and go back on my shows and see how many times this dickhead posts. This guy puts up at least 7,500 posts a month. Talk about obsessed. This guy's like a chick stalker that you had a one-night stand because you had the beer goggles on. I mean, hey, he's like the chick you had when you had beer goggles on. You went, really? Wow. Holy cow. I did that? Oh, my God. That's like beer goggle night. Right? You're like, hey, LJ's like beer goggle night. Hey, He'll put up, honest to God, it's not 7, it's 45,000 he'll post in my chat room this year. So you tell me who's obsessed with what. I mean, I don't think the only time I've ever really like posted stuff was with our shows. I don't do that shit. And my own Twitter. Because I don't really care about anybody else. Oh, man. Spend an hour. Dude, you spend your entire life in here with me. 4 hours of how many? What would we say? How many posts does he do an hour? 20? See, 2, 4, 6, 8. I got to get it right. So we'll say 100. 500 a day, or 500 a day. No, 400 a day. 400 a day times 5. So this guy puts up 2,000 column a post in my chat box a week, $2,000. So 8,000 a month. I mean, 8,000. This guy's on pace for 100,000 posts. And I'm obsessed with him. Sure. Are you sure about that? Oh, LJ is gold. Are you kidding me? He's gold. This guy's the biggest stalker I've ever seen since a chick I knew my sophomore year at Miami who used to knock on my door at 11:30. Hey, Dan, you in there? No. No, I'm not. He's not home. No, he's not home. Sorry, he's not home. Yeah. No, he's not home. Are you kidding me? Sue, I'm not trying to discourage him. I want him to post 100,000 times in my chat box. Oh, it's wonderful. He's a fabulous stalker. He owns me. Oh, because he posts 100,000 times in my chat. Hey, Xander, where are we right now in the likes? Whew, man, I'm feeling a little girly around LJ. This guy's making me feel like, wow, he really, I mean, this guy wants a date or something. This guy wants a date. Hey, Xander just said Jacob loves LJ. We're at 193. See that? Gold Goofy. You know what Goofy is? I'll take Nick Sirianni over Andy Reid and Doug Peterson. Hey, you see how he tried to change that conversation? Talk about a dickhead. Hey, I'll take, because it's, but see, he doesn't want to flip-flop. Because he is a guy that at the beginning of the time, when I said this guy wasn't qualified to be a head coach, he's the guy that has been behind him. And when he gets fired for all those great wins and have a great win percentage, then guess what he won't have? How about this? Nick Sirianni was almost fired for winning 25 games in 2 years. Doug was fired because the GM sabotaged the team. Sabotage. Hey, man. Howie's like a plumber back in the day. Some of you, this is an old reference. Like a Watergate plumber. Yeah. This guy's like the modern day FBI. Hey, wait a minute. It's LJ collusion. It's LJ collusion on Sirianni. It's collusion. You know he did it. It's Russian collusion. I would rather take Doug Peterson and Andy Reid over Nick Sirianni if they were doormen and I had to pick between those three guys. The only thing I would pick Nick for was to greet the guys out front of the NovaCare Center with coffee and donuts. Run the ball, Nick. Hey, do me a favor. Just for shits and giggles, ask your friends tonight who they would take as head coach of the Eagles. Nick, Andy, or Doug. Ask your friends tonight. There was a guy today that said he'd take Nick over those two dudes. One that won a Super Bowl and one went to 5 conference championship games in a row. Ask them that. See what they say. And say it. Make sure you preface it by saying it's not. That wasn't you that said that, because I don't want you to come off as an asshole. Oh, man. I'd take Frank overall. Frank's a great coordinator, man. He's a great coordinator. Absolutely. Andy Reid was my coach. Andy Reid, I said this a couple minutes ago. Andy Reid, by 2029, if he continues to win 12 or 13 games, he'll pass Shula. Dan Sileo hates facts and salads. Thanks for the $2, guy. I guess Cole is coming back. I don't know where he is, but I don't care, because Philly Godfather, 5:30. Want to win yourself some money. Again, another iconic. Oh, my God, here we go. Let's ask Dick Train this one. Hey, Dick Train, who would you take? Sirianni or Doug to run your team? Cole's in Montana. No chance that guy's connecting. Oh, he is? Oh, okay, he ain't come back. I like Dick Train. He's a good guy, too. All right, we're going to reset. And then the Philly Godfather is going to join us here on this Friday. Some of the takeaways that we had after listening 2.0 to Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. We'll revisit that. We'll get our boy on, Philly Godfather. Hit the like button. Xander, are we at 200 yet? I need 65 more by the end of the program. Where are we now when it comes to? We're at 190. Somebody said 197 right now. All right. So we need 67 likes. Guys, let's finish off the week strong here. Hit the like button. Keep it here. National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Stills! I'm curious about one thing before we go on. Why did you guys cancel out that Elliott Shore kid after the racist column that he wrote on Deshaun Jackson? Who protected him? It was a racist column with racist comments everywhere. I read it again. Who protected him? Because you have to have some protection. Company, somebody. Who? You? People come after me all the time for the littlest things I say. I made a comment about Howie Roseman. The Eagles called my bosses and tried to make it into something that didn't exist. But this kid calls this guy a crip in a column, and he covers the team for Odyssey. Because I want to get my facts right before I go off on that guy who's director of programming after this program. I want to get my shit right here. Who protected him? Philly? Eagles? IP? Odyssey? Who protected him? That he's still writing, covering the team, putting out nonsense about not practicing hard, and he subscribes to it. How come you didn't cancel him? You call you send Xander constant emails trying to cancel me because of some of the shit that I say just covering the team. I'm just curious. You know, the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's funny how everyone makes comments towards me and the things that I say when I just basically covering the team and how you want me gone. And yet here's a guy who blatantly did something that was so over the top that I would never allow him in my building ever again. He'd be banned for life. You got companies posting shit about JAKIB, not about your own company that now is worth 18 cents on a dollar. Just curious. How does this work in Philly? You just pick the people you don't like or the people that tell the truth? I'll tell you one thing about Xander Krause and Joe. Xander has never lied to me. That's the guy you go to work with. Thank you, Mr. International. We need about 65 to get to 265. It's who you know, not what you know. Steve, you can't be more right with that. Steve, it's not about being right in broadcasting. It really isn't. Because the more you're right, the more you're fired. That's why I know what I'm doing is right. But in the end, it's not, because you know why? My family suffers. They take it out on my family. I'm not crying poverty. I'm just saying they take it out on my family. Because that's the only way they can get to me, is they take it out on my family. Isn't that crazy? To be fair, I just like to know how that guy's still working in Philadelphia. Radio has blackballed me, and that guy still works. Wow. I am so perplexed by this. I made an off comment 13, 14 years ago, and people bring it up. This guy wrote a column and did research, and an editor signed off on it on NJ.com. And he now works at Odyssey covering the Eagles, and he's allowed in the building with a racist column, and the Eagles even cut him and brought Shady back or Djax back, and now have retired. Is now made him a Hall of Famer. I don't understand. I do understand, because I know who's doing this. I'll tell you something. That guy ever calls my boss ever again, and my bosses ever call me, I will not listen to even my bosses ever again, because I have no respect for him. Don't you ever try to pin something on me that's not true when you have a guy that did that to a player. You have no room to call me out on anything. Never again will I'll never get upset again how many times they call my bosses, the Eagles, that guy works. I will never. That will never shake me up again. I can't wait to ask Angelo after the show how this thing went down. You don't understand the shit I take every day. You know why I'm not on in Boston doing morning drive? Because a local activist said that I was over the top with takes. And Odyssey and Jeff Solano pulled the 3-year contract from me. And you got that guy working at IP. I'm going to reach out to Shady, and I'm going to reach out to Michael Irvin and get Deshaun Jackson on this thing. You have no idea how pissed off I am. I don't think it's racist calling someone a Crip. You're putting a label on it. Is Deshaun Jackson a Crip? Is he a gangster? So wait a minute. You don't think calling somebody a gangster or a Crip, and they're not, is not racist? You don't call white guys that. Really? You don't think that's racist? Because he knows some people that were in gangs. Wow. All right, let's move on here. Let's go back and reset here. Senor, thank you. Senor, you see the shit we go, Senor, right there in a nutshell is a lot of the things that I've battled over the years. Not every black guy's a gangster or Crip or blood. Not every Italian's in the mafia either. Okay? Not every Italian's a mafia member. You want to know something? How about this, Senor? I was being interviewed by Jerry Angelos, who worked with the Buccaneers. In my meeting that I had in my interview, he asked me if I had any members in the mafia. And I thought it was an off-colored question. Why would he ask me if somebody in my family was in the mafia? This is when there was no guardrails on those interviews. And you know how I answered, Sue? I wanted to come back because they're looking more for the answer and the response. You know what I said? Well, if I had a member in the mafia in my family, I wouldn't be sitting here. He laughed. And Jerry Angelo's Italian too. So I answered it that way. Well, if I had somebody in the mob, I wouldn't be here. But I thought it was a question. I mean, it's like asking Des Bryant if his mother's a whore. When Jeff Ireland asked that question to him, hey, is your mother a prostitute? That was a question asked to Des Bryant. You think that's racist? What's more racist, calling black men monkeys or saying D-Jack's friends are any? Doing an article on a story that you do research on and painting the guy to a point where the Eagles cut him because of the story and because of the perception that the story had, painting him that way. He lost his job over it. You be the determining factor. They cut him the same day. You tell me if it had an impact on his livelihood. Yes or no? Did that story have an impact on his livelihood that guy ESP wrote for NJ.com? Did it or did it not? Did it have an impact on his career? Yes or no? Maybe you have no room to talk. No, I made a mistake. I apologize numerous times. So, and I have forever. This guy did a column on it. Research. Editor okayed it. Then the Eagles were so taken by it and by the perception, they fired him. You tell me if it had an impact. What was the difference between him getting fired and me getting fired? ESP cost Deshaun Jackson an opportunity to play in the 2017 Super Bowl team. Because of perception of the organization. The owner fired him. Not Chip. All right. I started the program up. Oh, and I can't wait to get Philly Godfrey, because him and I have been vindicated by Kenny Gainwell. Okay? It's not a good look crying about unfair outcomes. I'm not crying. It's part of my history. I don't run from it. See the difference, AJM? Makes you look weak? No. What makes you look weak is hiding under a desk with it. That's what makes you look weak. I don't hide from shit. I said it. I own it. I did it. I don't run from anything. You got me mistaken. Unlike when people call other people racist, they hide under their desk. Not me. I don't hide under my desk. Did I say something inappropriate? Yeah. Okay. When you're on the air 37 years, something's going to slip out. Unfair. Life's unfair. Who gives? I didn't freaking crying. Only racist people make stupid comments like that. I'm not. You're right. You're right. If you're not black or Italian, you can never understand. Hey, Mr. International, it's funny, man. Growing up where I grew up too. You know, I remember coming home one day telling my grandfather, because I was trying to date this one girl. I heard her father in the other room go just like this. It was the craziest thing I ever heard. I never heard it after that, or I only heard it once. The guy's Italian. My grandfather started laughing. I was trying to date this girl, Yvette Petrushka. And I went over to the house and I heard her father in the background. My grandfather goes, the guy's Polish and he's talking shit on you. And I went, please don't say that to anybody. And he goes, and it was funny as hell. He goes, the guy's Italian. What are you thinking? I was like, what? Oh, man. Oh, funny. Hey, I did, man. I did laugh it off, but I was kind of stunned. Sinatra, Dean Martin, Rickles didn't have mob connections. Come on. What? I mean, so what? You think Antonin Scalia has mob connections too? Guy was on the Supreme Court? Or Marconi? Let me guess. Those guys are connected to the mob too, right? So you're saying Antonin Scalia is a mob member. Guy was on the United States Supreme Court. Antonin Scalia. Oh, because he's Italian. Okay. Oh, man. I don't think these people care. They're all white. Touche, Bruce. Touche. No idea what they're talking about. Doesn't bug them. Sean, thank you, my friend. Lori told Shady he was sorry for the trade. Did you listen to their show on Chip? Yes. He apologized. He apologized to Djax, too, from what I understand, for what happened. And that's why those guys have been welcomed back, because it was a tragic mistake that the organization made, because a column and a coach who may have had some innuendos or may have had some bad bedside manner cost them their jobs, their livelihood. And you know what you do? It's slander. You slandered them. How about this, senor? If you don't want to go racist, it's surely slander, no? Right? Sills, would you consider West Virginia racist when you guys came up to play? No. No. I would consider 10 people that were outside of our bus, tipping it, burning couches with nooses around their neck were racist. Not the entire state. You don't name every bill a racist if one guy's a racist. That's not how that works. An entire community is not to be blanketed with racism. If one guy's a dick, he's a dick. That guy, not the group. I don't look at things like that. Because one area did that, or 10 guys did that in an area. It's like saying this. You think Philadelphia at the Lincoln Financial, you think you guys are racist if 5 people are sitting in the 700 section back in the day, dropping the N-bomb? Does that make you racist? Of course not. That's why you guys get a bad rap. Because you got about 20 dickheads in the stadium. But it tarred and feathers the rest of it. No, I don't look at things like that. I don't say Philly's racist. I say that guy is, or him, or her. That person, not the group. No, I don't. No. I'll tell you, it's a compelling, I don't know if you've heard it, Xander. It's compelling listening to those guys talk about their time. They are bitter about Chip. They're bitter. They're bitter. Calling someone racist isn't as detrimental today as it was 10 years ago. Really? Then why do they keep saying it to me to keep me out of the industry of radio? Never met me, never spoke to me. You got that guy, Paul Dumowitz, on. You put his ass on, calls me a scumbag. Never met me, never talked to me. I've never been around him. How would he know? He didn't even know people who know me. How would he know? He doesn't know me. I never heard of the guy until he started talking in Philly. Then I heard him call me a scumbag. Jody had my back, actually. Elliot Short has crossed the line so many times. I'm shocked he's still employed. Thank you, Big Marshall. I don't know. Hey, how come he keeps his gig and I don't? You see, this is uncomfortable for some of you, isn't it? Good. I like uncomfortable. Just like that roast. Learn to get uncomfortable. That's what makes Kevin Hart and Dave Chappelle spectacular. They are in the world of uncomfortable. That's what separates them from the rest. Chris Rock, too. Right? I admire those guys. Those guys are brilliant, brilliant comedians. No fear. No wonder they're successful. Dude, they don't talk and they're not as entertaining as they are because they're funny. They're entertaining and compelling because of who they are. What they are. How they deliver it. They're brilliant, brilliant comedians. It's like Richard Pryor shit. The People's Channel. I like that, Wrench. Big Sales, TKOs, Dumowitz. First round. Hey, Luke, I don't even know the guy. I'm listening to Birds 365 with Jody and John doing a great job as they did. Now Xander's taking it to a new level and younger. Show sounds younger already. No disrespect to Jody. But what Xander's doing to it, he's created younger. There's more of a they're going to be more of a metric on younger audience. It's great. Want him on my show to do a segment next week. That's what you want. Keep your show young. Younger reference points. Can't have old man Dan. The hell wants to hear that shit? I don't. My wife doesn't. I just found out about Ellier's Seashore Parks like 2 years ago. He's a nobody. He's on IP. Okay. Miners never watched that. I've been said Xander is going to be great. Nobody listens to me. Yeah, I agree. Sileo's a scumbag. Oh, okay. And that's a guy who's a Hall of Fame voter who covers the National Football League and has been a benchmark in Philly sports saying that about somebody he's never met. But because I defended the linebacker for his political beliefs, that he had a right to say whatever he wanted to say, he didn't like that. Imagine that. I'm a proponent of free speech. He's not. Only his speech. It's the only thing it could be because I don't know. By the way, he's really good at what he does. I don't have a problem with him outside of him attacking me. As a broadcaster guy who covers the Eagles, I think he's brilliant. That never got in the way of how I look at folks. Hey, Sills, he hates you. Is he good? Yeah. Okay. Put him on. I would. I won't lie. I love Paul, but he needs to stop picking sides. Mr. International. No, he doesn't. That's what makes him the writer he is. Don't ask anybody to change. I'm not asking anybody. I don't want anybody to change. I'm not trying to change his opinion on me. I could care less about that. That has no bearing on me. The question you have to ask is why all the people you helped haven't come out publicly to, they get this. Put JM's thing up here. Then why do they come on my program? You think Joy Taylor being black or Seth Joyner or Tony Dungy or Herm Edwards, or let's see, Doug Williams, or God, I could go on. Isn't that supporting me? I don't need him to have a blanket statement because it's not genuine. If those guys thought I was racist, why did they come on? Jam. You know, I'm driving along in my vehicle. Sean, Eagle fans need to pay you for more Jerome and Miami stories. Sean, thank you, man. That's really cool of you. Thank you. I'm driving along here, and all of a sudden, the Philly Godfather vindicated out of nowhere. I'm driving along. I'm like, what's going on now? What has Philly Godfather gotten himself into? What is he doing now again? Is he causing some shit? Only Big Sills, only me and Big Sills. I'm driving along, and I'm going like, what has he done? And then Kenny Gainwell. Without further ado, the man that makes people millionaires. Buckle up, because this man has been right about a lot of things, and I'll tell you what, too. His takes are getting, in my opinion, to become more of a force with what we do here on the Sileo Show / the National Football Show. We bring our boy in. Look at you, man. You're like Nostradamus now.
You just got to connect the dots. You got to look for predictive indicators. You got to have some good information. And, it feels okay to be vindicated. But, I mean, it's no big deal. We told everyone the truth. They couldn't handle the truth. They hated us for like a week. And now it's out there. It's been out there. They know we're telling the truth. So make sure you guys watch each and every week.
Why is it so hard for people in Philly to hear the truth when it comes to, like, get this, you and me were coming up and saying all these things. And then when players even validate it by saying, like Gainwell on that podcast coming out and saying, hey, there was a disconnect between the front office, the players in the locker room. He didn't want to go too nutsy on the coaches, but there was a guy that was in the locker room for the last 3 years, part of the 53-man roster. And I'm with you on this one too, Godfather, that nobody's talking about him, whether or not he's a great player, but he was in every meeting that everyone else was in. No matter how good a player you were in, he was in the environment for the last 3 years. Why is that so hard for some people to digest?
I mean, they diehard Eagles fans. They don't want to hear the truth. But you could see it on the football field. There was little indicators. You can see Jalen Hurts getting, knocked down and no one running over to pick him up. You can see so many things that we were talking about on a week-to-week basis, and we were telling everyone, pump the brakes. I know they're 10-1, but it's more like a 7-4 team. And at the end of the season, we saw what they were against Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs. I mean, they got blown out, and it's a tough pill for fans to swallow.
How about this one? So I'm listening to an interview with Howard Eskin, and Howard was saying that he was talking to Jason Kelsey, and he said, last year, especially during the nuclear meltdown, that he was turning to Hurts in the huddle going, this is where the blitz is coming from. He was pointing out where the blitz was coming from, and Jalen still couldn't read it. Now, to me, you're like you have been saying the last 3 appearances, that guy's absence, not being in that huddle, is going to be a major factor because you go to a more inexperienced Cam Jurgens. Now, my question is this. If Hurts is in his 4th year and he can't pick up a blitz and he doesn't know, now I know why they got Barkley, because he's absolutely sensational at that, at pass protection. That's one thing he does really well. My question is, if Jalen Hurts can't pick up a blitz, I know he can't read a defense. How are we to look at that now, year 4, with Kelsey now saying that this guy struggles with picking up blitz coverages?
It's scary. I mean, he had that one good season, that one MVP type of season. But if you look at the sports betting market, there's 10 guys ahead of him to win the MVP this season. So the market doesn't expect him to have another great year. And when you lose a guy like Kelsey, his leadership skills, his playmaking ability. He's the second most important person on the football field behind the quarterback because he touches the ball on every possession. I mean, it's going to be hard to see Jalen Hurts get better this season than he was last year. And now he's loaded with weapons. He's got more weapons than anyone in the NFL, and he's definitely going to need them because without Kelsey there, it's going to be hard, man.
I went back and listened to the interviews of Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore, and I want to get your takeaway on some of these questions I have for you because I'll tell you something. I think there's going to be a problem between Vic Fangio and between Howie Roseman, and I want to point him out to you here. So he was asked a question about work and about installments. He said, well, they were asking about more practices. And he went like this, well, we need more practice and we need to work harder. And asked the question, hey, are you guys going to put more OTAs in? And he went like this, well, I'll let Nick answer that.
We're in trouble already. What? You got suck-ass Sirianni as a head coach. We all know the only reason why he's there is because he's kissing Lurie's, you know what? There's 24 coaches ahead of Sirianni to win Coach of the Year this year. So the sports betting market right there tells you there's 24 other coaches that are probably better than Sirianni. I mean, how do you put anything in his hand? The analytic department creates almost the entire game plan on a week-to-week basis. What's Nick doing? He's just calling timeouts on the football field, and now you're going to put a little wedge between them two already? That's insane.
How about this one? When asked the question at the end of the 2022 season, or the end of the going into the 2023 offseason, he was asked the question, if timing had played itself out better, would you have been the head defensive coordinator of the Eagles? He goes, that's a fair assumption. So my takeaway was, well, the Eagles procrastinated. Remember after the Gannon thing, they interviewed all those guys. He took the job immediately with Miami. This year, they didn't procrastinate. They hired that guy the first week the season was over. So what he's basically saying is, Howie waited too long. I wasn't going to sit around and wait for that guy to make a decision. I went and grabbed it. He became the highest paid defensive coordinator in the NFL in Miami. Yeah. So he threw that back at Howie going, hey, Howie wants to sit around, dicking around, interviewing people? Not me. Wait, this is going to get even better. What do you think of this?
They're already button heads. And it's a shame that, Dolphins defense was banged up last year, or else their defensive numbers would have been better than what they looked like. And Fangio has, proven over the first half of his career as a defensive coordinator, he was sharp. But over the last decade, he's had two teams in the top 5 in opponent points per game over that time span. He's had 4 teams outside the top 20. So I think he's a major upgrade for this Eagles defense. But again, he's got a lot of work to do, and he needs the horses. And if they're just mediocre this year, it's a win-win for everybody because they were like dead last season. And I think he can do that for him. I think it's going to take maybe a year or two to get this defense where Fangio wants them to be. But don't expect miracles in the first year. I'm just letting everyone know. If it happens, it happens. But don't expect miracles. There's only so much he can do. And if they're butting heads already, that's not a good sign.
How about this one? Get here. Follow me here. So a guy asked the question at the press conference. He goes, hey, what makes for a good defense? He went, players. Exactly. He went, hey, get this. He goes, because Dave Wannstedt came on our program and basically said he's going to have the scheme. It's going to come down to the players. So Vic basically said this, hey, this is going to come down to the Jimmies and Joes here. No matter what I do here, the scheme, this is going to come down to players. Isn't that a direct shot back at Howie Roseman? And when someone asked the question about Nakobe Dean, he goes, he'll have a chance to compete. I have never heard the word compete for a Howie Roseman draft choice. Dude, I think there's going to be some issues with this thing. If this thing, get this, if he doesn't start the guys that Howie wants, this is going to be Doug Peterson 2.0.
Yeah, it could be even worse. And then Howie goes out and gets that kid from Toledo to play corner, which I hope he's a great cornerback. But how many kids from Toledo are on NFL rosters this season compared to how many kids from Alabama? There's got to be 80 kids from Alabama on NFL rosters this year, and 5, 6 from Toledo? I mean, the odds are against you that he's going to be the type of corner that you need in the NFL when that kid from Alabama was sitting there. So that kind of like, but hey, you know me, you gotta let it transpire, let it play on the field. Let's see how good this kid is.
Yep.
I'm hoping he can play, but the odds are against you. I mean, I would have picked up that kid from Alabama in a heartbeat.
Now I want to give you a contrasting view of how you do shit and how Kellen Moore did this. Now listen, see, Vic to me is an old school no shit guy. He's going to play the people that gives his team the best opportunity and unit to win. Here's what Kellen Moore said when asked, I think our very own John McMullen, about meshing the old system and his system together. And he said this, we're going to leave some of the terminology and things from a year ago, but what we're going to do is we're going to kind of redefine it a little bit. And I was like, oh, I see. So you want to have Nick feel good about himself because he really doesn't have a job, so you can have an imprint on it, but yet he has no say in it. But here was a guy that was playing political. My opinion, there's a guy trying to jockey to become the next head football coach of the Philadelphia Eagles versus Vic wanting to change that roster on that side of the ball. That's how I took that as a player.
Yeah, but if Kellen Moore succeeds, well then Sirianni.
No, he's more head coach material, Godfather. I agree. Kellen's more of a modern day. Vic's, he's an old school. He's going, I'm playing the best guy. Kellen's doing, hey, Nick, I'm really glad you're here. Kind of.
No, I agree with you, man. And Kellen Moore, I mean, his results, he's had some pretty good offenses in Dallas. Last year, the Chargers were all banged up, so you can't put that on him. And he's going to have a tough task here with Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts isn't Justin Herbert. He's not even Dak Prescott, even though Dak Prescott's a choke artist. But he's stacked with weapons.
That's a money talk, Godfather. I hear it in your voice. That's more of a money bitch comment right there.
We were in great position. The Cowboys won me a ton of money last year, and then we're in the playoffs. We got futures on them. They're 7-point favorites, and he throws 2 picks in the first half. He's just a choke artist, Dak Prescott. But again, talking about this Eagles offense, they're loaded. I mean, A.J. Brown got his money, and there's a lot of crybabies in the NFL these days compared to when you played. So I don't even care about guys crying. As long as they perform on the football field like A.J. Brown does, give him the money. You know what I mean? Give him the money. He'll stop crying, and he'll go out there and he'll put up big numbers. And we saw how good this offense isn't without him on the football field in the playoffs against Tampa Bay. So you really needed to sign him. Kelsey's a big loss. He's got a tough job, but they're still stacked on offense. And but the NFC got better. I mean, teams like Atlanta, the Packers, they have basically similar odds as the Eagles
Chicago
this year. Yeah, the Bears got better. If that kid's any good, Williams, for the Bears, that's a sleeper. That team's going to be really dangerous. So the Lions are still better than the Eagles. 49ers are still better. The Cowboys still have the same odds as the Eagles to win the Super Bowl, to win the NFC.
Packers better?
I think the Packers are better as well. You saw down the stretch how good they looked. Early in the season, last season, they were banged up on their offensive line. And when that team got healthy, you saw Jordan Love start to look like a real superstar on that team. And this season, he's got better odds than Jalen Hurts to win the MVP. So the Packers are going to be dangerous as well.
I want to go to you and give you a couple questions here, if you don't mind, about position battles in camp coming up in this offseason here. And I think the cornerback position is really interesting. You got Slay, Quinyon Mitchell, Keely Ringo, Isaiah Rodgers, Cooper DeJean, James Bradbury, and Eli Ricks. Who do you see as, with Vic's style of coaching, they're not going to put a guy in there because he makes the most money. They're going to put the best guy. Who do you think starts at corner in September versus Green Bay in Brazil?
It's got to be CJ and Slay, I think. And then those other guys, they can work their way in. If Slay decides he doesn't want to tackle guys and he's going to be hands off like he has been, Bradbury, I think he's out the door. And you got to let those young kids play a little bit, see what they got.
So you think it's Mitchell and Slay in the opener?
Yeah, probably.
I think it's going to be interesting. Right guard, Steen, Hennessy, Keegan, or Micaiah Becton. I want to throw this at you. Phil Simms says that the Eagles may have had the best sign in the offseason because he thinks this Micaiah Becton guy, the Jets, they didn't know what they had. It was injury issues. He's got to stay on the field. But he's like this. This guy, Micaiah Becton, he could be a swing tackle, and you could play him in the guard position. Can you imagine that? A 6'6", 6'5", next to 6'5" Lane. Then on the other side, you have Land. Boy, if that guy can get back to being the number one selection and a number one first-round pick like he was with the Jets, they might be better than they were with Isaac Seumalo when they were there in 22.
Well, the key word is staying healthy. If he can stay healthy, he's a monster. He's a monster. I mean, let's be honest, and that's a major pickup for the Eagles. They definitely need him. They need him to stay healthy in order to protect Hurts because Hurts needs protection. He's going to need a lot of help this season.
All right, let's get a couple NBA questions. How far are the Knicks going this year?
They're gritty, man. They got 3 guys that from Nova that they play lights out. They play cohesive basketball. And the Celtics look vulnerable. They dropped a game already to the Cavs. They're pretty dangerous. If the ball bounces their way, they might end up in the NBA championship.
Is Denver finished?
No, they'll probably win the night, but Minnesota's really good. We talked about them before that series started. I told you I like Minnesota to win the series. Number 1 defense in the NBA, superstar players, Baby Jordan. But Denver's the defending champs. They still got something left in them. The line opened up 5. Minnesota's down to 3.5, 4 in some places. So there's some sharp money on Denver tonight. The series ain't over yet, but I think Minnesota wins that series.
Who wins the NBA championship, in your opinion? I mean, has it swung back? Because I'll tell you what, that Boston dropping that game shocked. I mean, they were favored by 12,
12
and lost by plus 20. I mean,
but they always have that.
You know what's funny? They didn't have a coach of the year. They didn't have an MVP guy. They didn't have a defensive player of the year. I think they only had 2 All-Stars on the team. But Boston looks so deep and so good, and Brad Stevens has done such a great job with that team. Yeah, I look at them, I go, I don't know, man. I mean, is it because they're feasting on the East, and the East is so bad, and we're kind of overvaluing them?
Yeah, I mean, the East is bad, definitely. Not as good as the West this season, and they've had an easier road. The Sixers got knocked out, Bucks got banged up, lost some guys. They got kicked out. But the Knicks are going to give them problems. But I think the West wins the whole thing this year. I mean, you got teams like OKC. They're young, they're tall, they're long, they're lean, they're athletic, and even the Mavs. I mean, you got 2 superstars and Luka, Kyrie. That's going to be a great series. That series probably goes 7. Minnesota, defensively, offensively, they look like the total package. And Denver, if they get their stuff together, because they haven't been playing great basketball. Even against the Lakers, they were down at halftime in every game in that series, and they were lucky to win that series against a Lakers team that wasn't even that good. Now, obviously, they got LeBron on that team, but I think the West is better than the East. But the Knicks, they're gritty, man, and they play a certain type of basketball with a good head coach. It's a dangerous team.
All right, we had a couple lunatics in here earlier, and I just want to make sure that I'm not CTE hasn't overtaken me just yet. We had guys in here going like this. I asked the question, if you had to have a guy run a football team right now, would you take Nick Sirianni or would you take Doug Peterson? And a few of these people said they would take Nick over Doug. Your take?
I don't know. One guy won the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback, and the other guy calls timeouts. Come on.
And screams at the fans.
It's not even close. I mean,
no. And I asked the question because Andy Reid lost 4 games too, his final year in Philly. So some of the folks' opinion was because Doug lost 4 games, he should have been fired, and that Andy lost 4 games. And I said, well, so you're saying with that metric then that you would take Nick over Andy Reid and Doug Peterson because they lost 4 games at the end of their time in their tenure as coaches for the Eagles, and you keep Nick Siri liar.
I mean, marijuana is legal in Philadelphia. So.
I was just making sure we're all on the same page, you and me, my friend. Tell the folks how they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Philly Godfather. Stop by the PhillyGodfather.com, and every Friday, 5:30 p.m. on the best show on the planet. And all we do is tell the truth, Dan.
Don't get in trouble doing that. Godfather, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
You got it.
That is our good friend, Philly Godfather. All right, Xander, where are we now in the likes count? Where are we? Folks, we're way behind. We're at 215. Come on, guys. I need 45. Come on, let's pound this thing out here. Let's pound this thing out like it's a Dallas Cowboy roadkill win. Let's pound this bad puppy out. Let's pound this bad puppy out. Huh. Niner, I just got it. I don't know. That might not be the terminology. Okay. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sills. All right, we start the segment off with what's the number here. We went into segment with 215. We got about 5 minutes left here to push this number as high as we possibly can and end the week on a great note here. By the way, you guys have been awesome this week. So where are we here, Xander? We went into the break in the timeout. You've been so nice lately. I don't know if you deserve more than 200. What do you mean I've been nice? Really? Good. Tell my aunt that I've been too nice. See? They've been thinking I'm too nice. Now they're saying I don't deserve it. All right. So we're at 223. Come on now. Let's do something that the Eagles couldn't do. Finish strong. Yeah. Thank you, Denny. Let's try to do something that your team couldn't do last year. Finish strong. No Jason Cole today. Xander says he's in Montana. That was not going to happen. Dude, and plus I'm not doing a 4-minute interview here. Hold on. Can I ask a question here about Penn State? What's your guys' connection with Penn State in Philadelphia? Is it because Temple's shitty that you guys don't really give a shit about it? Because somebody sent me something here, and I hadn't seen this before. And I don't know where this came from, but it was DM'd to me on my Twitter at Dan Sileo Show. What's your connection with Penn State? Is Penn State in Philly? Are you guys like boys with them? Is that like your connection? Like Miami is a connection, obviously, to, yeah, but, Miami, I get it. We're in the city. Nobody from Philly cared about Penn State. Philly area schools suck at football. What's the connection? F Penn State. Okay, well, it's funny. So this Eagle fan sends me this. Sileo can't wait for Lion Hunt. But look what the statement says underneath it. Miami tackle hates Penn State. I mean, I don't even remember saying that. Okay, I mean, like, the Miami tackle hates Penn State. Sileo can't wait for Lion Hunt. And I did hunt them down. Look at that. Oh, they couldn't stop me. I kicked the shit out of them. By the end of the fight, they put their hand up. They didn't want nothing to do with me. I didn't know that I said I hated Penn. Sileo hates Penn State. That's before the game. I would talk all that shit before a football game. So if you think the broadcasting is something, I love how people always assume, well, he got behind the mic and, became a big hero. No, I talk like this when I was younger. Oh, I love Steve Wisniewski. Hey, I'll tell you a story, JM. Here's a story at the end of the game when they beat us. We hadn't lost in 30 games. And there was 5 seconds left on the clock. And Jimmy didn't want to send us out because we had played so great. Held him to 120 yards total offense, 7 first downs. He didn't want to send Jerome and I back out there. We turned around and looked at him and we said, fuck that. We're going out. It was 5 seconds left. Vinny had thrown another pick. And I walked out there and I sat there and I saw the 5 seconds. Here's what Steve Wisniewski said. We did it. We did it. We beat the animals. We beat the monster. We slayed the dragon. I'm looking at him. We became great friends. I was on KNBR in the Bay Area, and he was playing for the Raiders. He called in just out of the blue. Sills, it's Wisniewski. It's Wiz. I'm like, get out of here. We hadn't talked since the game. And we went and played a round of golf. We had dinner at his house. It was really wonderful. And we became really great friends. I think he's a Hall of Fame player, by the way. And, yeah, man, 5 seconds tick off. I had to, I wasn't going to shake their hand, but I had to because they came over to me. Dude, you're great. You guys. And we were like, yeah, okay. So I shook their hand and shit. 2:38. Come on, people. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Can at least get it to 50. Can at least get it to 50. That's exactly what I say. Seth Joyner was saying things when we were 10-1, negative light, making us think we're on our side because he played with us. He's from New York. Bang. He was telling the truth, though. Seth knew it. I was saying it since week 4. You're not who you think you are. How many times? Hey, guys, how many times was I ripping you when you guys kept posting 9-0, 8-0, 10-1? Doan, Xander, everyone. Nobody could understand why I was killing the team because I kept going, you're not that good. You're not that good. Even in the postgame, finally Seth went like this. I think it was after the Cow. It may have been after the 49er ass beating. That's when he went, this team ain't this. This is not what that is. Right? A Niner all day. Did I not, like from week 4 go, this team ain't that good. 15 more likes, Q. You got it. Come on, man. 15 more likes. Just walked in the room and smashed it. Thank you, Escape. Fantastic. You did. Thank you, Niner. I think it's going to be a great. By the way, I am more pleased with Vic Fangio today. I changed my opinion on him. Luke, thank you. Guys, you guys, thank you so much, 007. I know you and I disagree a lot. I know we do. But thank you very much for your like. Got my like. Thank you. Doesn't explain the collapse, though. Thank you, Q. That was a disaster. Let's hope that doesn't happen again. There, I'm getting too nice again. And Sileo, it could be true, but because of the narrative that made us switch defensive coordinators because something didn't seem right at 10-1. I don't think they had to make the switch. I think they would have been okay. Dude, you had beaten Buffalo and Kansas City. Why would you make the move because you lost to Dallas and San Francisco? You know what I'm saying? Why would you do that? Teams get beat. They go in ruts. They don't panic. Howie panicked. He totally panicked. All right, Xander, where are we? Where are we on the like list? Folks, we need 6 more. Come on now. 6 more as we close up the shop. Guys, you guys were fantastic today. I can't thank you guys enough, man. Hey, you guys have had, just to tell you, I think it's 5 days in a row now with over 240 likes on our program, Monday through Friday. And you guys are doing this in the off season. You're growing the show like nobody's business. And we can't thank you enough. Okay? Roseman panicked when he fired him. All right. Have a great weekend. God bless everybody. Thank you guys so much. You have other opportunities to go out there, and we really appreciate it. Joe, go send a check over. Thank you very much. Big Joe, Xander, thank you. We totally appreciate it. We'll see you Monday, 2 to 6. See what we got here. 248. Hang on. 2 more. 248. I don't know if I can hang this bitch up here with 2 to go. Hang on here. We're at 248. 2 more. 2 more likes. We got to end the program like that. I don't know if I could just bail on that. Joe says send a check over. Oh my God. LJ. Thank you, LJ. Someone keep on liking it. All right, guys. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Have a great weekend, and we will catch you on the flip side.